Hello guys, welcome to Proxima What Ifs. So in this video, we will see, what if Izuku was summoned in heluva boss and married every girl? Izuku is the king of hell. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. Crown with Claws. He drops out of nowhere into a circle of shouting demons and cheap floodlights. No time to ask why. A rifle cracks. He moves. A gust from his heel flips sand and cigarette ash into a dirty curtain. The bullet skews off a warped girder and pings past a trembling imp on his knees. Izuku lands in the pit with one hand on the ground, the other already yanking a jagged railing into place like a shield. People scream. Someone laughs. A guitar riff squeals out of blown speakers. Showtime. A lean sinner drawls from the dais, hat tipped low, one boot on the back of the kneeling imp. Striker. The crowd chants his name like they bought it wholesale. Izuku doesn't give him a speech. He charges. Striker fires again, quick, center mass. The shot vanishes into Izuku's palm, knuckles flash. Wrist twists, muzzle points at empty sky. The rifle buckles with a click like a snapped tooth. Izuku's shoulder checks him off the dais so hard the stage lights strobe. The kneeling imp bolts on instinct. Black whip snaps out from Izuku's forearm, a clean arc of shadow grabbing the imp's belt and flinging him behind the railing. A dozen thugs aim. The air tastes like copper and dirt. Guns down, Izuku says. Calm, like there's nothing else that could happen here. Walk away. They don't. Of course they don't. He darts through the first two before their fingers finish pulling. Muzzle flashes bloom. Casings ring. Hands hit sand. No broken bones. No crushed throats. He takes wrists, elbows, balance, dignity. A hail of knives fans from the right bleachers. Black WH. It flickers and scoops every blade out of the air, hurling them into a wooden sign that reads, "No refunds." It now reads, "No fun." The crowd laughs despite itself, then goes quiet because the kid in G. Reen just dragged a man out from under gunfire and didn't blink. From the rim of the pit, a hellhound in a patchy security vest tracks everything without ever looking straight at him. Gray fur, spiked collar, one ear pinned back, tail still as rebar. Her eyes aren't on the hero, they're on the angles, where a ricochet would go, where the crowd would stampede, which gate would jam first. She's map, ping exit routes while everybody else is watching the show. Smart. Striker picks gravel out of his teeth. Folks paid to see a little justice, he spits, grinning. You makin' me look rude, green boy. Izuku steps off the dais. Soft-footed. The circle of thugs adjusts to keep distance. He lets them. Justice is the guy behind me getting home. He waits, just long enough that the silence grows teeth. Then he looks up at the bleachers and, without raising his voice, says, "Everyone near the west stairs, clear a lane. You, with the red jacket, help him up." People move, not because he's scary, because he looks at them like they can do something right and now they want to prove him correct. A new sound cuts the noise. Bass, like a heartbeat through a wall. A swarm of neon moth lights rises from the tunnel, and the smell of sugar and smoke rolls over the pit. The crowd parts without being told. She arrives riding a glittering hover platform that looks like a champagne bottle cap. Sunglasses at night, crown made of glow sticks. Laugh like a party starting to believe in itself, Beelzebub. Her smile could jumpstart a dead car. Well, B leans forward over the rail, chin in her hands. Seriously considering the mess like it's a menu. And here I thought I'd have to cancel a riot and kick Striker in the ego myself. But you have manners. She glances at Striker. We love a man with manners. Queen B. Striker slurs, chuckling. Wanna buy this hero a funeral? B's disciples hiss. B does not. She's watching how Izuku plants his feet between the imp and the guns, how he keeps his hands open. Fingers loose. She's counting the exits the same way the hellhound is. You lost? B asks, amused and careful. Or did hell order takeout and forget to call ahead? Izuku's chest still rises a little too fast. Adrenaline is a clock you can't turn off, only wind down. He keeps his eyes on the thugs. Honestly, both. The hellhound drops into the pit without asking for permission. Boots crunch. The badge on her vest is scratched to hell, LOONA. She doesn't offer a handshake. You just blew up Stryker's business model in front of 1,000 cameras, genius. Izuku glances at the nearest pillar. A lens blinks. 10 more blink back. Cool, he says, breath fogging in the cold of a ring lit like a furnace. Let's show them something worth remembering. Luna rolls her eyes, but it doesn't reach the corners. You're insane. She checks the west stair. The lane he called for is actually holding. She wasn't expecting that. An inconvenient. Frequently, he says, help me be inconvenient in the right direction. A fist from behind. He slips it, elbow clips the attacker's jaw, palm guides him down gentle as you can. The guy stays down because there are better hobbies than getting up. Izuku looks at Luna. She's already moving, barking short orders that sound like growls. People listen to her. She doesn't flinch when bullets whine, she just adjusts the flow. B claps once. The sound is bright and final. Okay, boys and girls, the party just changed. Stryker, pack up. Security, let the good dog work. Anyone still pointing a gun at my new Averite Chaos Agent is buying me a new floor if they scuff this one. Stryker's hat tilts, eyes slitting. Goin' soft, your majesty. B's grin shows teeth. Going smart. The rifles sag. Nobody wants to pay for B's floor. The imp Izuku saved can finally breathe. He clutches Izuku's sleeve, eyes wet, voice tiny. Gee thanks. Izuku steadies him, smile quick and plain. Get home. He watches the man go until the red jacket guy actually does what he was told and guides him up. Good. He exhales. Then he looks back at B. I didn't come here to start something, he says. But I can help you end something. B brightens like someone handed her a better setlist. Do you do exits on collapsing docks? Sometimes I do docks before they collapse. Perfect, she says. Because you're lit. TLE Performance just went live to 3 rings, and a certain pretty pop star with a very messy contract is begging me to borrow a hero. The crowd gasps as a hovercam swerves close. The feed flips to a split screen of the pit and a waterfront shot where a neon tour bus is trapped under a tilting crane. The text crawl at the bottom. VEROSIKA Mayday Live, stage under siege, label calls it, ACT of God. Izuku squints at the cranes. Rusted joints, overloaded cables, not an act of God, an act of cheap. Where? South Docks, B says, already dismounting from her platform. She tosses Izuku a wristband that glows like a cuff. You flash this, they'll let you break things. Any cops. Define cops. People who'll be mad I break things. B winks. Oh, sweetie, that list never ends. Luna is already moving, tossing him a battered helmet that's seen some wars. You can keep your head on your own, but the cameras are gonna love it. He straps it, that stupid grin threatening despite everything. You coming? She bares teeth. I'm not babysitting. Good, he says, and means it. I'm asking you to run point. Her ears flick. We'll see if you're worth following, she mutters, and the way she says it is a test. Not a slam. They sprint. The docks look like a rib cage, busted and unhappy. Floodlights make everything too white or too shadow. A crane lurches with a sick groan. A bus with pink decals sits under it like a trapped beetle. Fans press at the police lines, such as they are, a few bored sinners in blue. Phones are up. Drones buzz like gnats. At the heart of the mess, Veronica stands on the hood of a limo like she was born on a stage. She's all latex and lashes and late-night confessions, hair whipped by wind from the bay. She's also got one hand white-knuckled around a stagehand's wrist, refusing to let him slide off the tilted bus roof. 2 of her dancers hold a wobbling ladder. The label representative screams into a phone about insurance. Izuku doesn't break stride. Luna, get me a clear approach and keep the crowd from panicking. You got 3 meters and a lot of idiots, she snaps, then leaps the barrier, shoulders past 3 hotheads with her weight low and tail out. Everyone shut up and breathe. If you run, you die. So don't. B sweeps in with 2 vans, flinging open doors. Soup after. Now we save. I want a clean lane. You, glitter boy, yes. You, hold this fence and if you let it wobble I'm crowning the nearest trash can. Veronica skims him top to toe in a second flat. Green boy, If you make me ugly on camera, I will write a song that ruins your life. Deal, Izuku says, and then forgets the world. He steps up onto the bus's bumper. Metal moans. His hand slides under the frame near a crumpled jack point, fingers finding purchase where there shouldn't be any. He breathes in and lets the charge fill his calves and thighs, a hum that tingles at the edge of pain. 5%. Enough to crack pavement. Not enough to crack people. On my count, he calls. When it lifts, pull him. Do not move the ladder, just pull him. Verosuke's eyes flicker. She hates taking orders. She also hates losing people. Fine. 3. He doesn't say 2. He drives power down and up at the same time, like a bridge between ground and steel. The bus heaves. The crane shudders and drops another inch of shame. Izuku leans into it like a stubborn argument he refuses to lose. Now, Verosuke yanks the stagehand up with a sound that would ruin mascara if she wasn't waterproof. The dancer on the ladder whoops. Someone in the crowd screams his name. He pretends not to hear it. He hears Luna instead, counting breathless beats. Clear, clear, clear. A cable snaps somewhere above. The whiplash clang is pure warning. Izuku shifts, shoulder under the bumper now. Both feet digging trenches in the dock. The crane's head dips. The world tilts strange. Everyone off the bus, he grits, and Verosuke embarks down the ladder without accepting help from anyone, because of course she does. Izuku tilts his chin at the label representative. You. Back up the van 5 feet. Right now. I can't authorize. B plants a hand on his chest and slides him across the dock like a chess piece. I authorize vibes. Move. The van moves. Izuku breathes out, then upends the bus like he's rolling a stubborn couch through a doorway, guiding the fall, not fighting it. The bus flops onto the safe lane with a howl of tortured hinges. The crane groans. A bolt the size of a baseball bat spins free and scuds toward the crowd in a lazy, vicious arc. Luna snatches it out of the air with both hands. She looks at it, looks at him, snorts, tosses it into the bay. The dock exhales like it just held its breath too long. People cheer. A lot. Verosuke jumps off the bus, heels clacking, and steps close, closer than stage distance, close enough for the lens to pick the freckle by her eye. She studies Izuku's hands, the way they shake and settle. Okay, she says, voice rough. Image slipping off her like a coat. You can be in my shot. Great, he says, collapsing onto a milk crate because the adrenaline tax just came due. B thrusts a water bottle into his haw. ND and accidentally dumps half of it on his head. He laughs because he can or he'll pass out. Luna stands with her arms crossed like she had absolutely zero doubts the whole time. Sirens start up. N.O.T. helpful ones, the kind that mean accountants in uniforms. A drone drops close enough that Izuku can see his own reflection, sweaty, helmet crooked, grinning like an idiot. Put that down in writing, Verosuke purrs at the camera, sliding an arm around Izuku's shoulders like the world makes sense now that it's watching her again. New policy. Concerts don't crush fans. If my label doesn't like the liability, they can come lift buses themselves. Your label would like to issue a, the representative begins. B yawns. Mute him. The drone obliges. The crowd laughs. Money moves. That's politics here. Laughter pointing at a target. Izuku stands again before his legs forget how. Okay. He takes a breath that finds the bottom of his lungs. Fun's over. We've got more mess behind the stage. His eyes cut to the skeletal catwalks. The splintered boards, the overloaded truss with bad welds. This is going to give way in the next hour. Tomorrow, the representative says from somewhere, regaining volume. We have crews. Izuku points at a support. No, now. Verosuke studies the rigging like she's just noticing the way it leans. She hates being played. Fix it, she says, and the way she says it has a weight that money recognizes. Now, B claps as if this was all choreography. Break things nicely, hero. On it. They move. They move a lot. Izuku doesn't manage the room with rules, he uses momentum. Luna turns barriers into channels. Verosuke turns panic into a chant and then into a joke. B turns vans into food lines and scaffolding into shade. Where Izuku isn't, he is anyway, Bako. Say people copy him. He slides under a bent beam and 3 imps do the same the next time without being told. The label representative tries to find his phone and discovers B has given it to a grandma who needed to call her grandson. They're 90 minutes into fixing what everyone pretended wasn't broken when the night gets brighter the wrong way. A long, thin line of white appears mid-air a block off the water and burns down like a laser through silk. It pierces a billboard of a smiling angel hawking hospice insurance, keeps going, and nails a lonely pennant on a dock post. The pole hisses, cut in two. The top half falls into the bay with a splash like a period. Izuku goes still. Luna's hackles rise so high she looks taller. You feel that? He nods. It hums wrong in the bones. Not heat. Judgment. Verosuke's voice drops low. What was that? B doesn't smile now. Something that thinks it can write the ending of our party. Another line slices down, thinner, and skewers a hanging banner that reads VEROSIKA, live in sin. It nails the V. The fabric smolders, black at the edges. Izuku looks at the hole. He sees more than a hole. He sees a tracer's signature etched on the air, leaving behind a thin gold film that evaporates with a smell like clean laundry and hospitals. There's precision in it. There's pettiness too. Somebody wanted the V. Whoever you are, Izuku says into the dark, not raising his voice. Not performing. You almost hit civilians. Try that again and you'll watch me take your toy apart in front of you. Silence, like the city is thinking it over. The third line lances down, silent and perfect, and pins a banner across the pit's old broadcast feed on a floating jumbotron someone thought would be fun to keep running. It goes through the O in love, neat as a hole punch. Luna bares teeth. Coward. B's chin tips up, defiant. Pick on someone who can pick back. Izuku steps to the edge of the pier and stares up at the spot the next line would come from if it were a conversation. And because this place is loud and obvious, he makes the opposite choice. He lowers his voice until only the camera's a breath away and whoever is looking down from that too clean dark can hear. You're watching. Watch closer. He turns away and, without fanfare, starts hauling rope for a winch because the deck is still going to fail in 20 minutes, divine tantrum or not. People see him stop performing for the sky and get back to work. They copy him again. Backs bend. Hands grip. The dock holds because 100 small choices aim at the same future. The fourth line doesn't come. They finish right as the bay wind turns knives. B hands out paper cups of something hot and too sweet. Verosuke signs a kid's busted phone case with a lipstick kiss and telephone. LS him to get home before the cops start charging for air. Luna ends up on a crate with a clipboard and a voice hoarse from shouting orders that were mostly growls and swear words but somehow perfect. Izuku sits on the edge of the pier. Helmet off, hair soaked with sweat and bay mist. His hands are a map of little cuts. He flexes them anyway. He looks like he wants to say something and chooses not to. Then he does, because choosing not to forever is how you start hollowing out. I'm not trying to be king, he says to the water, which reflects a neon sign that insists a bar loves everyone who walks in. But I'm not going to let someone who doesn't live here write your rules. B sits beside him like they're just two kids after a show. Kings aren't crowns, she says, tipping her cup against his. They're verbs. You do king. You don't wear it. Verosuke leans a hip against the piling, hiding a little tremor in her arm by pretending it's a dance stretch. And if doing king made CERTAIN contracts go away, hypothetically, could you do it twice? Izuku snorts, then glances up at Luna. How far do you trust me? Far enough to yell at you for being stupid, she says, deadpan. And D close enough that if you don't pick up when I call, I start a fight with whoever made you miss it. He grins, crooked and honest. That sounds like a vow. Don't get sappy, she warns, ears reddening under fur. I don't do collars. He pulls something small from a pouch on his belt. A dented whistle, blackened and dull, the kind lifeguards swear by. He twirls it once on its cord and offers it to her. Then take the one thing that lets you boss me around. You blow this, I come. Doesn't matter where I am. Her eyes flick to B, to Verosuke, to the crew snoozing against crates. Slow, like testing ice. She lifts the cord and drops it around her neck. The whistle rests against fur. For a second, the cameras aren't there. She flicks his shoulder. You're dead if you ignore it. Wouldn't dream of it. Verosuke slides a folded page into his hand with a flourish. And as for vows, she says, smile liquid and sharp, I'm rewriting mine. Dancers free to leave. No debt bondage. My name first on all posters, your name second. And if you ever catch a bus again I get exclusive rights to the slow motion footage. B laughs, that round bell sound back in her voice. He's not signing a label contract with you. Then, softer, so only the three of them catch it. We're not talking about paper, anyway. Izuku looks between them. He can see the outlines of an insane idea falling into place. He pushes up to stand, bones protesting, and turns to face the ragged crowd, the cameras, the bay, the hole in the night where someone smug is still definitely watching, and decides to make the implied announcement. Tonight you saw what happens when we choose each other, he says, voice level but carried by 100 hushes. You want fewer bodies when the sky tries to call us mistakes. Do this with me on purpose. One ring at a time. One promise at a time. Not a crown by blood. A crown by consent. Luna's eyes widen half a millimeter and then shudder back too. I knew he'd say something stupid. But her tail thumps once against the crate before she clamps it still. B tilts her head. You're proposing an alliance ceremony that makes you very punchable. Only if it's real, he says. Only if the people with the most to lose get to say yes first. Verosuke's gaze slides to the main camera feed. She sees the numbers ticking. Views, comments, contracts snapping like candy canes. She puts her phone down face first and looks at him without the layer that makes her bulletproof. Then start with us. B lifts her cup. In that case, I want labor protections and supply lines that don't depend on jerks with boats. Done, Izuku says, like he has the power to make it done because if he doesn't say it that way no one will. Fine, Verosuke says, stepping in close and letting the lens have its kiss, but the kiss tastes like resolve, not marketing. I'm in. Luna pretends to study a rope knot. I'm not marrying anybody on a dock. Good, he says, and the relief is real. We'll do yours where you pick. And the only thing it means is that when you call, I listen. Damn right, she mutters, but the corner of her mouth can't help itself. The wind shifts. The hole in the night feels like breath before a word. Izuku turns to it again. He doesn't lift his fists. He lifts his chin. You hear that? Consent. If you're going to try to break it, he says, come do it in front of everyone. The air above the pier condenses into a needle of light thin as a thought. It hangs, chooses, then snaps down through a weathered banner tucked under the jumbotron. The banner says love in flaking paint. The spear pins the O again, because someone thinks they're funny. The pier goes perfectly quiet. Izuku walks to the pole. He wraps both hands around the white-hot spear, and holds it like a stubborn branch that needs to be moved, not fought. His palms sear. He doesn't flinch. He leans, once, twice, finds the balance point only he can feel, and slides the spear out of the wood with a hiss that sounds offended. He doesn't aim it up. He lays it down on the boards like it's a live snake and then, without ceremony, kicks it into the bay. Steam explodes. The water boils for a heartbeat and then goes smooth. He faces the night and smiles, not polite, not cruel, sure. Next time, he says, send yourself, not your pen. Somewhere above the clouds, something old and tidy decides it has heard enough. A prickle goes down everyone's arms at once. The halo of a gate flickers, thin and distant, just a ring of too clean daylight blinking open in a place where night should be solid. There's no beam. There's just a sense of attention focusing like a knife. Okay. B breathes, both hands around her cup now, like it might steady the world. Heaven wants to RSVP. Good, Izuku says, because fear already took what it could today and he is not paying twice. So do we. He turns his back on the sky and faces his people, the new shape of that word in his mouth, and D raises the wristband B gave him so the cameras see it. We do the coalition ceremony at your amphitheater, he tells her, not asking. Public. No traps. Everybody invited who wants to keep breathing. B's grin comes back with steel in it. Whole city's gonna need glitter. Verosuke flips her hair and snatches a mic from a dumbfounded tech. Tomorrow night, She purrs to every lens like she's pitching sin itself. We say yes or no like we mean it. Luna hops off her crate, lands light, and shoulders him once on her way past. You don't keep them safe, she mutters, I keep your whistle. Fair. The bay wind snatches the stink of hot metal and fear and replaces it with salt and fried dough from a stand 2 blocks away that never closed. People laugh again, quieter but truer. Izuku stands on the pier, helmet under his arm, hands bandaged in napkins be kept in her bag because of course she did. He looks at the water, the lights, the people, the space in the sky where someone tidy is already marking tomorrow on a clean white page. He doesn't say a promise. He just starts walking toward the next thing that must be done. Chapter 1 End. Chapter 2. Vows in Firelight. Pyro pops. Bass kicks. B's amphitheater throbs like a heartbeat and every seat is a live wire. Izuku walks the center aisle with Luna on his right and Verosuke on his left, B pacing backward in front of them like a glitter-dipped ringmaster making sure the crowd remembers this is a party, not a coup. Drones drift like lazy moons. The city came hungry. The city came armed. The city also brought flowers because hell contains multitudes. Keep your hands visible, Luna mutters, scanning catwalks, sky, understage shadows. If somebody snipes you, I don't wanna fill out the paperwork. I'll try not to die just to keep admin light, he says, breathing in, out, steady. He's not shaking. He's charged. Verosuke leans into the nearest camera with a purr. Welcome to the consent show. If you hate transparency, now's a great time to leave or spontaneously combust. The crowd laughs. The laugh is nervous. It turns confident when B throws both arms up and the entire floor reconfigures. Risers slide, platforms rise. A round dais blooms at center like the stage itself wants eye contact. House rules, B announces, voice riding the sound like a surfer. No assassinations during vows. If you're gonna try it, at least wait for the afterparty, cowards. Not helping, Luna growls. Very helping, B sings back, because saying a thing out loud steals some of its teeth. From the VIP balcony, Asmodeus lounges with the relaxed power of a guy who can clear a block with a wink. Fizdar rolls beside him in a glittering harness, scanning the rail with circus-sharp eyes. Asmodeus flicks 2 fingers. His mic opens to the whole arena without him lifting a hand. Before we let Crown Boy speechify, tradition requires a test. Don't pout. Even I took mine. I don't pout, Izuku says. Verosuke aside whispers, you definitely pout. Asmodeus grins, unbothered, unhurried. I offer a champion. Not to kill. Tonight we're civilized, but to stress the myth. If he folds, this was a hype reel. If he stands, well, then the night gets interesting. A lift whirs. The champion rises. Broad, horned, fanged, wearing a grin that looks carved. He's carrying nothing. That bothers Izuku more than a sword would. People who don't bring weapons usually are won. The arena hushes. Izuku hops up onto the dais as if he's stepping into a spar with a friend. Luna peels off toward staging to control the flow. B drifts to one side to keep the crowd warm. Verosuke circles the opposite side to keep them facing the right way. Everyone's moving for the same reason. Multitasking saves lives. Rules. Izuku asks. Don't die. Asmodeus says. Don't kill. Entertain me. The champion tilts his head. He's got that calm slow vibe of a tank ticking. Name's Grawl. Nice to meet you, Izuku says, palms open. Grawl's fist moves and then it's a meteor. Izuku slides under, catches forearm, shunts force to ground. Pavement cracks. Crowd roars. Grawl smiles wider, pleased. They trade 3 more like that, Izuku's footwork a metronome. Grawl's weight a problem. And then the problem changes. Grawl exhales a thin vapor from between his teeth. It spreads, colorless. Izuku's back teeth ache, his kin prickles like someone turned off part of the world. Luna curses into comms. He's got a Grail effect field. It chokes aura. Translation. B asks, still smiling while she signals safety cruise with her fingers behind her back. Demon powers get sluggish, Luna says. Angels use it to make us punch like toddlers. Cool, Izuku says, bouncing twice on his toes. I'm not a demon. He still feels it. Not like a suffocation. more like a bad workout band pulling at his joints. Blackwhip sputters. He doesn't force it, he changes the game. He stops chasing the power and starts chasing the room. Every arena has its rhythm. Crowd breath, bass hits, the micro delay on B's pyros, the drag of air over the open bowl. Izuku shifts his center so the song carries him. He lets Grawl swing first and second, call and response. Trims his movement to what the beat offers. He isn't faster, he's more right. Grawl frowns. He expects Izuku to fight Grawl. Izuku fights the space. The champion goes low, sweeping. Izuku hops. Knee brushes the grail field, numbness flashes. He lands crooked on purpose, lets the stumble sell the feint, and slaps Grawl's wrist, not hard, just correct. The punch tips late, the impact whiffs. Grawl overcommits. Izuku catches shoulder, uses Grawl's own torque, and answers with a throw that puts big man on his back without dignity but without pain. The crowd inhales like a single animal. Izuku doesn't follow up, he offers a hand. Grawl takes it, blinks, then laughs from the belly. All right, field off, Asmodeus says, amused, as if he's feeding a cat a new toy. Grawl obliges. The air stops resisting. Round 2, Grawl rumbles, rolling his neck. You've still got breath, Izuku says. So yeah, they go again. No tricks now, just clean exchanges that drum the arena's ribs. Izuku lets one for all flare at 5% on a shoulder check and rides the recoil into a pivot that plants Grawl without malice. He could break a knee. He doesn't, and he makes sure everyone can tell that's a choice. Asmodeus lifts a hand. Enough. Grawl rises, offers Izuku a bow with his forearm crossed. It looks awkward and dignified all at once. Izuku returns it. The arena explodes. Competent and tasteful, Asmodeus decides, voice hot honey. Hate that, love that. Fizz whoops and flips off the rail with an easy backward spin that makes phones scream. He lands, pats Grawl's bicep, eyeing Izuku. You fight like a guy who learned on rooftops. Stares, Izuku says, then breathes through the tremor in his calves until it's memory. B steps in with a flourish. Test passed. Now, vows. The amphitheater dims to firelight. Someone kills the stadium white and lets warmth soak everything. Cryo gutters, candles scatter glow across faces. It stops feeling like an event and starts feeling like a room. Luna stands opposite Izuku. She's got the whistle on, black against her fur, and her cheeks are definitely not blushing because that would be illegal. She holds something small in her palm. It glints. No collars, she says, quiet, and the hush swallows her voice and carries it just fine. No leashes. If you turn this into a cage, I'm done. Izuku nods. If I stop listening, blow the whistle. If I don't show, you leave me. She puts a metal tag in his hand. It's scuffed, old, stamped with a phone number crossed out and underneath it a fresh engraving. Listen. He fumbles it like it's more dangerous than a blade. You keep that where you can feel it, Luna mutters, ears twitching, eyes hard to meet. So you remember your job. He threads the tag onto the woven cord he's been using to keep his gloves together and ties it on his wrist. I'll remember. B's grin softens. Audience, I require AWWS. They oblige, happily. Verosuka doesn't step into a circle. She steps onto the lip of the stage and calls her crew by name. One by one. No last names because those were stolen by contracts. She reads a paragraph that she wrote herself in N.O.T. her manager. I hereby dissolve performance indenture, and I make it grossly illegal for anybody to make you sign your body away again. The label representative tries to elbow the comms booth. B's head LTS barely and two burly partygoers with chef hats appear like summoned. The rep finds himself smothered by a feather boa and a non-disclosure agreement printed on pink paper. Verosuka takes a pen, but she doesn't sign first. She hands the pen to Izuku. He doesn't take it. You sign, he says. It's your name on your life. Her eyes flicker. She signs. He signs under. Then she kisses him like a press release. Flash, perfect angle, and when the roar dips, kisses him again off angle, messy, just for them. That second kiss changes the tone of the night by 5 degrees. Luna coughs. Gross. B claps. Gross and binding. Sally Mae materializes where shadows pool between speaker towers, knives riding her hips like polite pets. She jerks her chin. You got a second, hotshot. Izuku fall. OWS her into the alley behind staging where the sound dulls to a low thump and the city smells more like cold metal than glitter. She tosses him a knife, handle first. He snags it, blade down. Test, she says. I just finished. Not for them. For me. They circle. Sally comes in with economy. Flick, check, step. Izuku keeps it at knife to knife, hands mostly shut, elbows in. 2 exchanges in. She angles a slice at his neck to see if he panics. He doesn't. He ducks, lets her think she's got him, then plants the flat of his blade against her sternum and stops there, a breath away from hurt. She smirks. Thought so. Thought what? You don't swing for soft targets. She flips her knife hand and offers a grip. I do ugly work for money. I'd prefer my boss didn't make me spackle kids. He takes her hand. Then don't. We won't. She snorts. You say, we, like everybody already decided you're the guy. I'm saying I'll bleed for the promise, he says. You don't owe me worship. Just tell me when I'm being an idiot. That's free, she asks, amused. Because you're gonna need a lot of that. Unlimited plan. She taps his wrist where Luna's tag glints. Then you can have this. She unhooks one of her blades. The plainest one, and slides it across. Tie it to your gear. If I take this back, it means we're not talking with knives in our hands. It means we talk. He reads the blade on the inside of his left gauntlet. Light catches the edge. He nods. Deal. A low chiming rolls through the alley like a spoon circling crystal. Not B's sound design. Not Ozzy's club toys. This sings clean. Izuku looks up. Back on. Sally says, eyes hard, shoulders tight. Now. They step out into the open just as the amphitheater's roof yanks itself into the night like invisible fingers grabbed it. The stars look too neat. No wind. No noise. Then, light. Not a beam this time. A blessing, if blessings could flay a city. A descending sheet, thin as skin, bright as regret. People scream. Some pray at nothing. B's voice says, breathe. So hard the speakers warp. Izuku is already moving. Clear the stage. He snaps. Crowd. Down. Cover your eyes. Open your mouth. Pressure wave. Luna shoves a row into ducking. Verusica herds crew into the pit. B throws her platform in front of 2 kids and yanks them under her with zero grace and all heart. The sheet kisses the edge of the amphitheater. The first row of seats vaporizes, perfectly smooth. Izuku hits the stairs, sprints up the right line, and jumps straight into the light like he has no self-preservation. He catches it. He doesn't really catch it. That's insane. But he plants his boots on the railing, drives his legs down, and punches a shockwave that cups the sheet, curls its edge, and shoves. The GHT skates sideways like a piece of silk caught in a fan and sails out toward the empty cliffs. The city watches an impossible thing redraw itself around a choice. The sheet misses the crowd. It's slick. A sculpture in the public park into a perfect 2 and goes fizzing out into the sea with a hiss like somebody ironing a shirt. Izuku drops from the rail, rolls, bounces, lands in a crouch next to B's platform. His hands shake. He keeps them still by sheer narrative stubbornness. Was that? B starts. Later, he says, a little breathless. You good. She blinks, hair full of drywall dust, eyes full of joy and anger. New favorite trick. A ripple runs through the air like someone dropped a pebble into the sky. It resolves into the shape of a doorway too clean for this place. A figure steps out onto nothing. Ketheriel looks like nobody. That's the point. He's beige perfection and careful edges. Wings tucked. Halo like a paperwork stamp. He doesn't glow. He refracts. He gazes on at Izuku like he's measuring a patient. Surrender the unlawful crown. We don't have a crown, Izuku says. We've got promises. Promises are what sinners make, Ketheriel replies, tone placid. We make laws. B folds her arms. Cool. Make a law that pays my busker's hazard. Ketheriel doesn't look at her. He's learned the trick where you stare at the most dangerous one and pretend the rest don't exist. He points a finger. The air rings. The message prints itself across every screen in the arena in neat serif font. compliance equals mercy. Verosuke laughs into her mic, a single note. Oh, babe, bad branding. Talk to me, not at me, Izuku says, stepping forward, barefoot on molten grit where light nicked the floor. Come down. I cannot enter a place of riot without sanction, Ketheriel says. B's smile goes knife. Buddy, you just sanctioned yourself when you redecorated my ceiling. Ketheriel blinks. Something like irritation flickers. It passes. Then we do this by proxy. He tips a hand. 7 drones unfold in the air, too white to be from hell, too quiet to be honest. Each one unfurls a harp string emitter. Luna's already moving. Izuku. I know. He takes T. Re-steps and leaps a gap in the melted railing that wasn't there a minute ago, lands on the lighting truss, and sprints up the spine like he was born to climb weird metal. The first emitter fires. He doesn't aim at it. He aims at the beam. His fist snaps through the line. The feedback kicks the drone into a spin. He pins it with Blackwhip, wraps it like a mean gift, and slams it into its friend. 2 go down. 4 left. 5 left. Another pops from behind the gate. Great. Fizz bolts off the VIP like a missile, rebounds off a banner line, and lands on a drone with a giggle that means he's definitely signed too many waivers. He rips the emitter off with his teeth. Grawl throws a shattered seat like a discus and pansacks a third. Asmodeus stays on the rail, one hand on Fizz's harness line, see. Casual like he isn't calculating trajectories at light speed. Ketheriel watches the cooperation and files it away like a disease vector. He raises 2 fingers. A new emitter bursts with a sound like clean dishes. It targets the stage. It's going to carve a word for the cameras if Izuku lets it. Izuku doesn't debate. He sprints blind along a cable, legs pumping, quirk thrumming at a safe but stupid 8%. He launches, tucks, turns, kicks the emitter into the dirt, and rides the impact like a skateboarder, boots screaming spark on steel. He uses the slide to get under the last 2 and pops them like soda cans. Silence. Then sound again. The arena recalibrates. B breathes. Luna unclenches. Verosuke slaps her mic back on and laughs like they rehearsed that. Asmodeus slow claps because he isn't above giving credit when it's earned. Ketheriel doesn't leave. He tilts his head, curious. Then, like he's just remembering manners, he says, "You may complete your ritual." The mercy holds until dawn. Izuku looks up. "You don't give us dawn. We made dawn by surviving you." Ketheriel's mouth changes shape by 1 millimeter. "We will speak again, unlawful crown." The gate tightens to a dot and vanishes. The sky feels heavier when the neatness leaves. People start making noise again. The noise sounds like relief trying to exhale without crying in public. B's platform hums back to center. "Okay," she shouts, glitter shaken out of her hair with a toss. As previously scheduled, vows. "We're doing that now," Verosuke says, incredulous and delighted. "Yes," B says, "because that is exactly when you make promises, after something tries to scare you out of them." Verosuke takes Izuku's hand, twines fingers. "My vows are inconvenient." Her voice hits the cheap seats without strain. "I want my people free when they want to be free, if that includes me. I want to make bangers that get sex workers paid and fed, not just ogled. I want to stand next to whoever drags a bus out from under a falling crane. Because that guy's useful." Izuku squeezes. "I want you to tell me when I get fake. I want you to shove a mic in my face when I hide, and take it away when I get addicted to it." She smiles, small and real. "Deal." Quote. B pops a bottle of something that sprays confetti and contracts at the same time. Witnessed. Luna grumbles. Fine, do mine too, which is Luna for I've already decided. Hurry up before I overthink it. They stand nose to nose. She hooks a finger in his shirt to keep him from swaying. "You listen," she says. "You keep evac routes clean. You love my people like they're yours or I walk. And you do not pet me in public." He manages not to laugh. "I listen. I keep routes clean. I love your people. He pauses. "I reserve the right to pet you. In private if we agree on a schedule and a safe word." Her ears pink. She huffs. "We'll talk. Talking is hot," he says, dead serious. B throws her arms wide. And with that awkward honesty, the first 2 vows, she crows, are glued. Quote, the arena surges. Flares pop. It becomes hard to remember this wasn't a concert until a new figure slides into the proscenium like a knife into a letter. Street. Ella arrives in a gown that could defund a small country. Diamonds like ice, poise like a perfected lie. The Godia noble ladies behind her ripple like a rumor. 2 guards flanking her don't blink. She doesn't bring Stolos. She doesn't bring his shadow. She brings the part of the Godia that still runs on rules and expectation. Queen Beelzebub, Stella says, voice butter and chill, I was told there would be a ceremony. B's grin turns professional. There is a ceremony. There's also a bar if you get bored. We have cinnamon shots named. Actually, I'm fine. Stella stares at Izuku like she's measuring what kind of mess he is. And you are the one who thinks himself a king. I'm the one who thinks. King is a verb, Izuku says. We're trying it out. If it sucks, we pick a better one. Her lips twitch before she smothers it. Adorable. Luna leans toward Verosuke without moving her lips. She's here to humiliate him, bet. Or barter. Verosuke whispers back, coiled. Stella steps to the center. Gaze cutting the crowd into believers and idiots. The Godia have differences, she says, being diplomatic the way a knife is gentle. A ceremony that binds labor, sin, and the sea. Rome without a Godia contingent is theater without a third act. B's brows lift. You volunteering to be the act? Stella looks bored of herself. I am offering a treaty marriage. You need a spin. Ian pried with reach into the old houses. I need a lever that moves the city without bleeding it dry for spectacle. The arena goes very, very quiet. Izuku doesn't fill the silence. He steps forward until they're in the same air. Terms. Quote, no bed, Stella says, unblinking. No claims to my existing holdings. No demands for heirs. This is not romance. Then it's a shield, Izuku says. And a sword, she counters. Mutual. If I am attacked for participating, you answer. If you overreach and hurt my people, I pull support and I do it publicly. Add one clause, Izuku says. If either of us starts acting like a tyrant, Barbie Wire gets veto power on the contract until we fix it. Who is? Stella begins, annoyed, then stops because Barbie is suddenly there like she was always standin'. Exactly where Stella was about to ask about her. Barbie smiles without showing teeth. Hi. Stella examines the woman who looks like she can smell a lie under a gallon of perfume. She nods once, reluctantly impressed. Fine. The Barbie may have temporary veto on mutually defined tyrannies. Define. Temporary, Barbie says. Weekly review, Stella says, daring her to push it. Daily, Barbie says. Stella twitches. You're exhausting. Correct, Barbie says. Pick daily. Stella's mouth hardens. Fine. B claps, delighted. Do I get to say, kiss, or is that gauche? Gauche, Stella says, crisp. Later, Izuku tells B, earning a scandalized giggle from someone in row C. Verosuke eyes Stella, curious and furious in equal measure. You this brave when the cameras aren't on. Stella returns the stare. Braver. She turns to Izuku. I am not promising feelings. I am promising function. Feelings are messy, Izuku says. Function saves people. We can start there. They sign nothing. They clasp wrists. B throws light over them like confetti anyway and the crowd reads the moment for what it is. A war move disguised as a wedding disguised as a peace. From the catwalks, Luna scans the roofline again and then freezes. Izuku. He feels it a split second later. The air pressure pops. The cameras glitch. The big screens smear for a breath and then restabilize. With a font change none of the text made. Serif again. Smugger. A sentence prints itself on the sky. Next dawn. Audit. Ketheriel's version of a calendar invite. Everybody hates it. Izuku steps into the center circle and lifts his hands. We're not canceling, he says, loud enough for the gouged rafters to hear. We're not hiding. We finish vows. We go home. We wake up early. We prepare. B's smile returns like a blade sliding out of a sleeve. We throw the kind of afterparty an audit can't kill. Asmodeus, from his rail, raises a glass. I'm suddenly in the mood to donate to public safety. Fizz dangles upside down from a lighting bar. Public safety loves tips. People laugh again. Good. Laughing people move smarter. Sally Mae drifts up behind Izuku, ghost quiet. Okay, boss, she says. And the word boss from her sounds like a bet she expects to cash. I'll pull my sisters. We're locking down outer exits. If heaven wants to try another sanitized pass, they're gonna find trip lines and empty streets. Use B's fleet, Izuku says. Use Verosuke's fans for comms. Use Barbie's mouth to scare anyone who wants to play hero without a plan. Barbie smirks. Already wrote E speech in my head and 3 tweets I'll regret. B points at the ceiling. And if Mr. Audit sends more needles, we bend light again. We can't do that everywhere, Luna says. We don't have to, Izuku says. We just have to do enough that people learn they can do the rest without waiting for me. B watches his face while he says that. She looks like she wants to smile and bite him simultaneously. Ow, she says, softly. You're going to make me proud, and I hate pride unless it's on a poster. Put it on a poster, Verosuke says, looping her arm through B's like they fight but share closets. Make it ugly. Make it honest. Make it sell out. B lifts their joined hands. Ladies, sinners, and statistical outliers, coalition vows secured for tonight. Security Captain Luna, Pop Sovereign Verosuke Mayday. Assassin Auditor Sally Mae, Social Hammer Barbie Wire, and, she side-eyes Stella, the Godia's most dangerous ice sculpture, Lady Stella. Temporary, Stella says for the record. And the record takes it down. Izuku raises his wrist, tag glinting. No crowns yet, he says. Just work. The arena answers with a sound that isn't a cheer. It's a promise back. Hours later, when the lights drop to a gentle ache and the crews are breaking down rigging that won't kill anyone in the morning, Izuku ends up at the edge of the stage with his shoes off and his dress sheet. RT open at the throat because someone thought a tie was a good idea and he lost that fight for 5 minutes. Luna drops a water bottle into his lap without looking at him, sits on his left, legs dangling. You did good, she says like she's telling him he remembered to take the trash out. You kept people from dying, he says, bumping her shoulder with his pack. She huffs, soft. The whistle knocks his chest when he breathes and the sound it makes is annoying and perfect. Verosuke strolls up and flops on his right, dramatic flop, hair tossed, thighs thrown across a crate like she married the crate and wants alimony. I'm writing a song called Audit This. It's a waltz, with knives. Make it easy to hum, B says, appearing behind them with 4 corn dogs and a halo of sticky sugar in her hair. Civil defense needs bops. Quote, Stella lingers a polite distance away. She's not joining a cuddle on a crate. She observes. She finds Barbie already observing her, perfectly still, a question in human shape. Stella nods, once, acknowledging a peer. Barbie nods back with the exact same measure of grace. It counts. The big screens still glow, muted. Someone muted the serif font thread and D replaced it with B's loop of cartoon instructions. In case of audit, don't panic. Drink water. Don't punch beams. Punch cops. Kidding. Mostly. The crowd laughs every time it loops even though most of them have left. The laugh is lighter now. Izuku rubs at a blister on his palm and stops because it won't heal if he keeps picking it. He looks up into the stripped-out rafters that used to be AC. Eiling and sees the piece of sky where the gate had hung. Next dawn, he says. Luna cracks her neck. We should sleep in shifts. Verosuke checks her phone, tosses it onto the stage like it offended her. My label is calling me a traitor. Also sales spiked 22%. I'd like to thank the haters. B snorts. Bring me your contracts tomorrow. We'll throw them in a blender and make margs. Stella glides closer, careful. A queen entering a food court. We need evacuation corridors mapped. Godia servants have routes you can use. You'll have to not scare them. Izuku stands. Then you show them the map, not me. People follow you when they think you saved them. You save them, then act like they did it themselves. Stella's eyes flicker. You're dangerous. It isn't an insult. Barbie slides her hands into her jacket. Good dangerous is just dangerous with receipts. I'll be your receipt book. Tomorrow. Press conference, noon, open questions, no plants. If you freeze, I tase you. Joke. Mostly. Mostly's doing a lot of work tonight, Izuku says, smiling because he can now. He turns, Takes in the amphitheater, B's house, Luna's roots, Verosuke's stage, Sally's shadows, Barbie's spotlight, Stella's dagger, and realizes it feels like a room inside him already. Last orders, B says, yawning huge. Sleep, kiss, hydrate, set alarms, no dying without RSVP. Luna drops her head on his shoulder so fast she can pretend it was inertia. Verosuke steals one of B's corn dogs and bites it like she's mad at it. B lets her. Stella doesn't sit, but she doesn't leave. Sally Mae fades back into the scaffolding to nap like a cat with knives. Above them, beyond the wrecked roofline, the city blinks stubborn neon. Somewhere behind that neat sky, Ketheriel sharpens the word audit into a spear and tells himself he's merciful. Izuku closes his eyes for a second, breathes, opens them, and stands up again even though his legs complain. Okay, he says, to nobody and everybody. We make dawn sting less. Quote. He hops off the stage, lands light, and goes to help a janitor fold chairs. Chapter 2 end. Chapter 3. Knives in the court. The Pride Rings courthouse looks like a temple that lost a bet with a casino. Marble columns, gold leaf, neon underlighting. Security at the doors is half ceremonial, half bored. The benches creak with nobles, hustlers, union reps, sinners in their work boots. Cameras roost in chandeliers like quiet vultures. Izuku walks to the center of the round chamber and doesn't sit at the raised chair they keep calling a throne. He drags a plain table into the circle, sets 2 carafes of water on it, and pulls up 6 chairs. Luna takes one automatically, shoulder to his right, eyes on upper galleries. Verosuke slinks left, shades on, mic tucked like a cigarette. B sits cross-legged on the table because chairs are a suggestion. Sally Mae leans against a pillar just inside shadow. Barbie Wire strolls to the rail with a notebook and a pen she clicks once, a threat. Stella glides to the opposite seat, jaw carved into confidence, hands loose like this is her living room. Asmodeus watches from the mezzanine with Fizz curled on the rail like a spoiled cat. Paimon lounges 2 rows back, bored and dangerous. Crimson sits with men who look like they chew gravel for breakfast and taxes for dessert. Izuku clears his throat, doesn't ask for silence. Gets it anyway because people want to see if he'll choke. Agenda, he says, and his voice fills the bowl clean. Godia labor dispute, port safety enforcement, cross-ring emergency corridors, any motion to add items. Quote, a dozen hands pop. He points to a graying imp in a safety vest. You first, sir, the imp says, and winces at his own choice of honorific, my crew keeps G. Edding bounced between Paimon's inspectors and Crimson's dock bosses. Nothing gets fixed. My guys die. Like, literally. Izuku nods. We're done dying from paperwork. Paimon, you'll second a team. Crimson, your bosses stop faking inspection sign-offs. If you ignore that, the port shuts for a week. B's kitchens feed your people so you can't pretend we're starving them for leverage. Paimon blinks. You presume to order. I presume to prevent funerals, Izuku says. You want to co-author. Sit down here. A ripple of shock and laughter hits the gallery. Paimon stays put. Crimson doesn't laugh. Crimson's smile is a blade someone sanded to look safe. Izuku pushes a chair back with his foot. Also. Chamber doors open. The bailiff blinks. Sir. Open them, Izuku says, and there's no performance in it, just a call. If we're making rules for people, they get to hear it without a tax on the truth. The big doors creak. Outside, a line of citizens stacks like a heartbeat. The guard freeze in the, are we really doing this? Pose. B waves her hand like jazz hands but for civic transparency. Let 'em in. You break it, we remix it. Luna tilts her head. Risky. Yup, Izuku says. Good risks only. People flood in. Dockworkers, dancers, servants in plain coats, street medics with lanyards, a grandma with a rolling pin like a scepter. They jam the aisles, pack the walls, sit on steps. The room changes temperature. The nobles stiffen like someone spilled water on their shoes. Barbie snaps her notebook shut with a satisfied little smack. Finally, an audience that matters. The bailiff clears his throat with the resignation of a man who realizes his job description just mutated. As requested by this ad hoc, whatever we're calling this, he glares at B, who blows. Him a kiss. The floor recognizes public comment. A servant girl in a starched dress with her hands shaking so hard the paper rattles steps up, glances at Stella, looks away fast. I work in Pride. Godia houses. Night shift. We have emergency exits mapped for nobles. Not for staff. Stella's jaw tightens. Blink you miss it. She stands. Bring your maps, she tells the girl gently, then looks at Izuku like he better not waste this moment. We will correct that. Barbie points the pen at Stella like a wand. You're going to publish them. Redacted enough to keep assassins dumb, public enough tea. Oh, stop burning maids alive while some duke squeezes his wine glass. Stella does not flinch at the image. Yes. B raises a hand. And we're going to make cute posters with roots and QR codes that link to live updates. Little devil cartoons. Maybe with hard hats. Verosuka leans into a camera with her lazy smile. I'll sing the PSA. Nothing sells like a hook and hips. Luna scans the upper balcony again. Left catwalk. Third bay. 2 breaths too still. Izuku doesn't search. He pivots with a step that looks like a nervous tick and sets his hand on the table. If someone up there is bored enough to test me, he says without looking up, please aim for me and not the people who can't throw their bodies like mine can. A pause breathes. Nothing falls. The room shivers like it wanted a fight and got told to wait. Out of the corner of his eye, Izuku sees Crimson's men trade glances. The bailiff tries again. Next, the ceiling splits. Not physically, spatially. Space gets neat. A rectangle of 2 white light stamps itself in midair above the dais. Letters extrude, perfect and smug, cooling into golden script that floats. The letters click into words with an audible little tick the microphones love. Warrant of mercy. Surrender the unlawful crown. Dissolve poly vows. Comply equals exemption 1 year. The courthouse does what a courthouse does best. Gasps, then pretends it didn't. B's shoulders go hard. Smile turned off. Verosuka's lashes lower a fraction. Luna bears a centimeter of tooth, just enough for anyone watching to know she knows what a trap smells like. Sally Mae doesn't react at all, which is a reaction. Izuku steps under the floating letters and opens his hands like he's warming them at a fire. Who signs this? The air condenses into an answer. A clean ring, the suggestion of a seal. Ketheriel's voice folds into the chamber from nowhere and everywhere. We do. Compliance is kindness. Someone in the third row says, bite me, and the room almos. T laughs and then doesn't because people are watching from heaven who do not understand jokes. Izuku inhales, holds it for a second like he's smelling the edges of the paper. The word exemption sits there like candy laced with glass. 1 year of no exterminations. 1 year of kids not hearing trumpets at dawn. He can feel the math happening in 100 hearts. Bargain. Survival. Sell love to buy breath. He doesn't explain his choices. He does something else. He walks to the public rail where the servant girl still clutches her maps and hands her his mic. Tell me your roots, he says, gently. Right now. Her eyes blow wide. She looks at the floating warrant. She looks at Stella. Ice Queen, chin set, and then back at Izuku. She swallows. Back stairs through the laundry, she says. Her voice shakes. Servants' hall connects to the wine cellar. 2 locked grates. Keys with steward and the. Her gaze skitters to a Godia matron who looks like she eats secrets, and the lady of the house. Give me your names, Izuku says to the nobles. Stewards. Ladies. If you hold a key, we map your key with your permission. If you don't give it, we replace your locks and your servants leave you when the bells sound. Your choice. A Godia lord starts to stand, face growing pomp. Stella's scepter cracks against her palm, just a little noise, just loud enough to warn. Sit, she tells him without looking. He sits. Barbie steps into the circle, flips the notebook, and tears out 3 pages. She hands the pen to Izuku. He doesn't take it. He holds it up and offers it to the crowd. Who wants to write the policy draft? I'll sign. You're the authors. Silence. Then the grandma with the rolling pin marches down the aisle like she's late for bingo. She snatches the pen. If the fancy ones make faces, they can come roll dough with me till their wrists learn humility. She starts writing. The chamber breaks into 100 whispers that are plans, not gossip. The letters floating above the dais do not like being ignored. They pulse. Ketheriel's voice cools. Consent is a luxury purchased by the obedient. 1 year. Such gifts are rare. Izuku looks up like he's looking at a streetlight that won't stop buzzing. You want me to put my wives away like coats, sign for deliverance, and pretend the math checks out because the number's big. Verosuka slides her shades down to star. At the letters like they're a bad producer. He said wives. Plural. Cute. Consent is a law, Ketheriel says, and for the first time there's the faintest curl at the edge of the word. You cannot legislate sin. B laughs. Ugly and true. Buddy, you legislated genocide. The letters flare, offended. Crimson stands, bored with being patient. This is all very cute. But my men move the docks. My roots keep your little club stocked with booze and tourists and coyotes who think they're clever. He smiles with all the warmth of a snake basking. I got an offer for you, green boy. Turn you are back on the bloodshed family for an afternoon, and I make your audit problems disappear. Your girls get to sing and party, your dog gets new boots, the angels pick a quieter block to set on fire. Sally Mae's hand twitches a whisper on the hilt of a knife. Crimson doesn't look her way. He's too good for that. He looks at Izuku like the fight's already over. You're offering to sell someone else to the audit, Izuku says. Voice flat. I'm offering to point a storm at the fools who didn't pay their umbrellas, Crimson says. Or do you want your people to drown? Sally steps into the light. The plain knife she gifted him glinting under his gauntlet. He's offering me my sisters, she says. Our folk. Full immunity if I deliver your head. He thinks I'll take it. Crimson's smile doesn't change. Little May, you always were expensive. Sally looks at Izuku like she's measuring the weight of a gamble. Then she slides the knife across the table to him and takes her hands off it. I don't sell pack, she says. Not for anyone. Not even to avoid a storm. Something unclenches in the room. The math wobble in 100 hearts rocks toward no. Verosuka murmurs, hell yeah, and it doesn't sound like a stage line. Barbie raps the table. Hearings are cute, she says. Budgets are binding. Propose one. She flips her notebook to a clean page and slaps it in front of Izuku. Show us where the money goes. Not a grand vision. Line items. He takes the pen now. He draws. He draws fast. Short boxes. Arrows. B's food lines printed as a network that snakes between rings with lit. TLE cups drawn on corners that make people smile before they realize they're looking at a war map. Verosuka's tour buses repurposed as evac trains, scheduled and numbered, with her logo stamped where it buys people's attention. Asmodeus's club floors flagged as shelter nodes with cots on the map drawn as hearts with X's through them so they read as beds at a glance. Godia exits as dotted lines th. Stella starts annotating with her own pen without being asked. He doesn't sell the plan with words. He sells it by letting 100 hands fill in blanks he left open on purpose. He stops. The map looks like a city that decided to catch itself. Barbie whistles. You had that in your head. No, Izuku says. I had pieces. You made it a map. Gross, B says, wiping at her eye with the back of her hand. Which immediately smears glitter into a constellation. Civic feelings. Above them, the golden letters pulse again, brighter. The edges of the rectangle harden. The serif font gains weight. Ketheriel's voice turns all boardroom. Last offer. Dissolve the vows, return the sigil, and pride receives an indulgence, 1 cycle without extermination. 1 cycle. A year without sky knives. Izuku feels the room sway on the math again. This is how power works. Give the desperate a number that sounds like peace and ask them to sell something vital for it. He palms the tag on his wrist. Listen. The metal is cool and scratches his skin. He looks at Luna. She's not asking for a speech. She's braced to move when he does. He looks at Verosuka. She's poised to weaponize a mic. He looks at B, who would laugh while shoveling soup during an earthquake, and at Sally, who already chose. He looks at Stella, and Stella looks right back, asking, are you the kind of king who takes a bribe tea? Hat spares his people and sells their souls. Izuku breathes. No deal, he says, and the way he says it isn't a performance. It's a door slamming on something he hates. The room jerks as if every neck just snapped to stare. Ketheriel doesn't raise his voice. Declined mercy. Declined the lie, Izuku answers. You don't get to call it mercy if you make me kill my promise first. The letters burn hotter, the seal tightens, and the temperature drops in that fake way holy places sometimes have. Then we proceed. He doesn't wait for the beam. He doesn't want a beam. He wants air, space, time. He wants bodies moving where light won't burn them. Evac plan now, he says, already moving. Luna, routes, B, kitchens, Veronica, buses and comms. Sally, snipers on rooftops to pop the emitters, not angels. Do not shoot angels. We don't win that. We delay that. Asmodeus, shelter nodes open. Asmodeus grins like he was born for this kind of donation. Already unlocked. Fizz, baby. Fizz salutes with a somersault. On it. Crimson lifts a hand. His men rise as one. So we're ignoring the gentlemanly way out. Fine. Let this be on your head. Sally's eyes go colder than knives. You bring a truck past my lines. It doesn't leave full. She smiles with no humor. Try me. The warrant explodes into slivers that slide away and reassemble as 7 thin circles of light in 7 different corners of the ceiling. The mercy turned into a timer. The circles hum a note that makes you think of hospital corridors and white tiles. Crowd noise spikes. Panic scratches at the door. Izuku jumps up on the table and puts 2 fingers to his lips. The whistle he gives Luna is the one around her neck. He doesn't steal that sound. He throws his voice through B's mics without asking, because she would have anyway. Listen, walk, don't run. Follow the food flags, not the lights. If you get lost, yell your name and the street you were born on. Your city hears you. It's nonsense in its direction and it works. The crowd surges, not wild, but in channels. Luna carves with a raised hand and a snarl for anyone who tries to push past a grandma. Veronica slams her feed live, a split screen of the map in her face, calm. Naughty, brave, hey sinners, she purrs, eyes steady. This one's called Don't Die Stupid. Step 1. Follow the glitter cones. Step 2. I love you. Step 3. Tell a stranger you love their hair. It'll keep you breathing. B kicks open a side door with a high heel, points a baton like a wand, and conjures a conga line of soup pots on wheels that probably existed 20 minutes ago because of course she planned for triumph and disaster in the same breath. If you can hold a ladle, she shouts, you work here now. Stella lifts her skirts 1 inch to sprint at. ND ends up looking like a woman who runs a country as she shepherds servants through a Godia exit only 3 people in the room knew was there. She deadbolts it behind the last kid with a click that sounds like guilt snapping. Guards, she says to her own men, help the staff first. Anyone who argues loses their job and keeps their head only because I am merciful. Barbie intercepts 3 nobles who look like they're about to say something ruinous into a camera. Smile, she tells them, tapping her taser, not on, just there. Then go hold a door. You can pretend it's charity later. The fur, saint circle in the ceiling squeezes itself thin. A line darts down, deadly, clean. Izuku doesn't try to catch this one. He's not a wall, he's a rerouter. He hits the floor with 1 heel and punches a shockwave into the aisle. Not up. Air pressure bulges, the beam skates sideways, slices a chandelier's chain, and screeches out through a window into the empty courtyard. Glass rains. People duck. Luna's hand on Izuku's shoulder is the only reason he doesn't charge the ceiling like an idiot. Hey, she growls into his ear. They want you to chase. Don't chase. He nods, teeth bared. Right. Buzz. Second circle. It drops toward the far exit where 2 kids froze like deer. B throws herself across the line of fire. Not into it. Never that. She slams a rolling soup pot with her hip so it wheels in to the kids and knocks them down behind a fallen pew. The beam shaves the top of the pew off like a barber with divine scissors. B winks at the kids and hands them cups of something hot. Drink. It's bravery juice. Fizz drops from the balcony on a silk line, grabs an emitter drone spitting a baby laser and whirls it like a bolo until it smokes. He throws it into another drone with a delighted, wee. Asmodeus hauls on his harness like reeling in a fish. I hate and love that, Ozzy mutters, not even trying to hide the fondness. Crimson's men surge toward a side door, misreading chaos as cover. Sally steps into their path. Blades still sheathed. You run through civilians, you lose a hand. One man sneers and reaches. Sally moves once. His sleeve flutters empty. He blinks at his WR. East stump like it offended him by existing. His friends rethink their route. Third circle dives. The warrant is done with flirting. This beam wants to write a word through people. Izuku doesn't let it. He vaults the rail, runs up angled benches like stairs, black whip lashing to a stone angel's arm, swinging him across a gap. He lands on the gallery rail, plants one foot on a carved demon's head, and throws a 12% punch into the beam's path that bends the air. The line skews, carves a column clean, turns the top 2 meters into a white-hot donut. It doesn't fall. Luna already called 2 crew WI.TH pulls and they brace the chunk until Verosuke's dancers get ropes around it and lower it like an angry chandelier onto a trolley. Teamwork is hot. Verosuke sings, then throws the note into a chant the room picks up. Don't die, stupid. The stupid part is affectionate. People smile while hustling. That smile saves more breath than any sermon. Ketheriel's voice slides thin through the ceiling. Disembodied and annoyed at being forced to attend a party. You confuse stubbornness for virtue. Izuku wipes sweat with the back of his hand and grins up at the neat rectangle like he can see the man on the other side. You confuse order for good. The 4th, 5th, 6th circles blink in quick succession and lance down almost together. The room can't catch all of them. But the room doesn't have to. The city catches them. Because by the time those lines would hit flesh, the benches are empty and the aisles are clear and the doors are open to B's kitchens baking steam like holy incense. Asmodeus's club lights flash green instead of red as a signal that the shelters are open. Bouncers become ushers, bartenders count heads like cash. Verosuke's buses beep as they pull up curbside WITH their marquee signs switch to evac and a heart. Stella's Godia lines feed staff out back ways nobody in 1,000 years bothered to share, and Barbie's livestream keeps every liar honest by Ma. King's sword sharp jokes about their shoes. The 7th circle waits till the chamber is mostly empty and then drops dead center where the table stands. Izuku doesn't move it, he stands in front of it, and lets the beam slice the tabletop in half and stop there because he decided it does. His boots smoke, his palms blister. He breathes through it and pushes the air sideways and the line unthreads in. To mist with a noise like a recorded sigh played backward. Silence. The kind that isn't empty. The kind that's gathering itself. The neat letters reassemble one more time, smaller now, petty. Non-compliant. Then they wink out. Izuku looks around. The chamber is scarred. Pews shaved, columns ringed, banners singed. It looks better. Honest. He jumps down, legs tremoring. Luna's whistle knocks his chest when he lands. He touches the tag with listen without thinking and finds his own breath that way. Report, he says. B ticks items off on sticky fingers. Kitchen's rolling. We're feeding PLE soup with bread and tinier umbrellas for morale. Clubs are open and already blasting ballads about consent. I named one audit my fist. It's a slow jam. Verosuke holds up her phone. Bus is loaded. Fans are acting like ushers. Label is having a meltdown on the group chat. I sent them a selfie of me flipping them off with a baby on my hip. Baby's mother approved. Baby drooled. I will be sued and I will win. Sally Mae's knives are at rest. Rooftops clear. She jerks her thumb toward a corridor. Crimson's boys tried the side exit again. They're rethinking their life choices with 10 fingers fewer among them. Barbie checks her notes. Public comms landed. We're trending under hashtag crown by consent and hashtag audit this. I hate hashtags unless they feed people. These are feeding people. Stella's diamonds glitter with dust. Servants are out. Nobles are pretending they planned it. I will let them pretend in the morning if they fund the corridor upgrades before night. Izuku nods. Nods again. Keeps moving so the city copies him. Good. We hold this pattern. We. The sky outside tears. You don't see it with eyes at first. You feel it in your teeth. The perched drones wobble and auto-correct, chandeliers thrum. In the gap where the chamber's skylight once was, light blooms, not a neat door, a wound. The mercy is over. The audit ended. The extermination starts. A clean spear of brightness, thick as a clock tower, punches through a tower in the distance and gouts glass and air with a sound like laughter ironed flat. The city screams. Not all of it. Not this chamber. This chamber moves. Izuku is already off the table and sprinting toward the steps. Go. He snaps. Not to the room. To himself. To his muscles. To the map they drew that just turned real. He hits the door. Bursts into the colonnade. Takes the stairs 3 at a time and then 4, and in the open blast of terrified night he jumps. OFA rears up in his bones like a wild horse and he doesn't break it, he rides it. 8%, 10, his shoes tearing their seams, Black Whip cracking out to a cornice and flinging him into the street like a grappling hook with an attitude. Behind him he hears Luna barking roots, B yelling, left, left, left. Verosuke's voice on a dozen speakers turning fear into choreography, Stella issuing orders like bullet points that bleed. Barbie's laugh, ruthless and bright, cuts THR. Out the noise with a line he'll hear later on loops. Mercy doesn't come from the sky. It comes from the hands that catch you. He angles into the wind toward the nearest strike point and doesn't look back. Chapter 3 End. Chapter 4. The day heaven blinked. Sirens argue with trumpets and lose. The first citywide lance punches through a tower across the square and keeps going like the building is a suggestion. The shock knocks dust out of stone a mile away. Izuku doesn't wait for echoes. He's already off the courthouse steps, sprinting the spine of the boulevard while the map from the hearing overlays the streets in his head. Every arrow a pulse. Luna's voice pops through his ear bead, low and clipped. Convoy A at B's hub. Convoy B blocked by an overturned bus on Sinner's Row. Stairwell D is jammed. I'm rerouting by Kettle Alley. Got it, he says, breath smooth, legs chewing distance. Verosuke, give me sound. Her voice pours out of a dozen corner speakers and 3 hacked ad boards, lazy velvet turned steel. Hey, sinners, you know the drill. Glitter cones mean safe lanes, green lights mean shelter open, kiss your panic goodbye because we're walking this mess out together. B's laugh rides the background like a drum fill. Soup's hot, med tense up, and if you can carry a box you just got hired. Don't argue, it's sexy community service. Another spear of light punches down a block ahead. Izuku jukes left through the old arcade by muscle memory he doesn't technically have. He uses Black Whip to swing through a broken skylight, plants on the opposite roof, and lets one for all roll out across his calves in a clean 8% that doesn't char muscle. The rooftop hisses under his soles and the city goes wider, older, steadier. He hits the bone bridge, 2 Gothic rib, arcing a canal like a fossilized smile, and sees the lance falling dead center to make the worst possible kind of example. Nobody's here to catch this one. He is. Bridge, he says, voice clipped as a throw. Now, Luna doesn't ask why. On your left, 3 meters. He nods to nobody and jumps. The air feels wrong. Holy geometry wants to go in straight lines. Izuku pulls a shockwave curve out of it anyway. Fists a meter apart like he's holding an invisible drum and punching the beat off center. The lance hits the pressure bow he makes and skids, just enough. It slashes the bridge's crown instead of its heart. Stone screams. The center section cracks and tilts toward the canal, dragging a screaming bus with it. Izuku lands hard on the sagging span, slides, plants, and reaches. Black Whip snaps and latches the bus frame. The rope of green energy quivers like a tendon at max load. The bus groans, someone inside cries out and then bites it down because this is not the part where people break. Switch to manual, he yells, feet sliding. Put it in neutral. No. Other neutral. A driver swears creatively and does the thing. The bus lurches lighter. Izuku digs in and pulls the way why. Oh, you pull when there isn't a later to fix this in. When his heels finally bite the grooved stone, he lets power roll up his spine and into his shoulders and throws the bus upslope by centimeters. It's nothing on a map, it's everything here. The bus crests past the tilt's red line. Hands appear, dozens, a wave of grabby salvation. Luna's guard, half hellhounds, half sinners with borrowed armbands, see. Och bumpers and fenders like they've rehearsed this 100 times, which they have not and it doesn't matter. Go. Luna barks, tail high, gaze slicing lanes into existence. Don't look down. Don't hug. Move. The bus clears. The split bridge's center section hangs by one miserable hinge. Izuku lets go. The piece falls. He's already running, dropping 3 meters with a hop and riding the collapsing rib like a surfboard until it kisses the canal in a wall of steam. He coughs, tastes limestone and angel burn, and laughs once because adrenaline taxes demand weird tithes. Next, he says, looking up at the white scars tearing the sky. Choir incoming. Verosuke breathes, not scared, focused. Sound signature says seraphs. 5, maybe 6. They're harmonizing. Nobody barf. B. Stage B is clear. I can give you a backline and horns. Do it, Izuku says, already cutting across rooftops toward Heretics Square where the acoustics are a nightmare unless you like bouncy echoes. Today, he likes them. He drops into the square at a sprint. Drones hum angry over headstones repurposed as park benches. Air prickles with ozone and moral smugness. The choir arrives. 6 seraphs in shish. A murring geometry that hurts to look at direct, faces smooth like corporate logos. They breathe a chord that scrubs sound out of the world. Someone would freeze at that. Verosuke is not someone. Oh, babies, she purrs. And then hits the first note of a hook she wrote in the limo while chewing a charger cable because all her pens were out. It's not pure. It's sticky. B's horns answer from 3 sides, tinny street paw, warped club speakers, and a kid's thrift store trumpet that should be illegal. The chord collides with the hymn in the middle and they chew each other in a squawking, poppy mess. Verosuke changes key like she's stepping out of a dress, slides her melody through the gap, and the choir trips, not falling, tripping. They wobble, recalculating. She goes dirty, syncopated, sinful. The seraphs grimace like they bit a joke. Izuku can't outsing an angel, but he can outmaneuver a distracted one. He runs under their formation and finds the conductor, not a person, a small, white cube humming at the edge of the square like a proud toaster. He smashes it. The choir loses its metronome. Downbeat's gone. Verosuke laughs, wicked. Dance, heaven. A beam slashes where her mouth was a second ago. She slides under it with a dancer's grin, hair flipping the camera off like a third hand. She doesn't stop singing. The crowd copies her movement like muscle memory borrowed on trust. Izuku jumps and slams a shockwave through the choir's center. Not a kill, a conscience. The formation blows apart like birds, regrouping in a clumsy pentagon instead of a blade. 2 peel off to hit easy civilian clusters. They don't get the chance. Luna's guard meets them head-on with shields scavenged from club doors and kitchen trays, taking lines on edges and letting energy glance, not land. A hellhound takes a shoulder hit and stays up because she's having a very serious conversation with fear and fear is losing. B. Izuku calls. Already pivoting. Darling. Her party. 500. DX ravers who signed up for logistics because they love a schedule and a cause, treats the square like a field kitchen drill. They flip tables. They stand them on end. They become walls. They sew AC. Orador down the middle with tape and cones and the kind of theatrical authority only B can manifest with glitter and a whistle. A kid in a hoodie cries. B hands him a ladle and labels him, line captain. He stops crying to boss his row like he was born to it. Asmodeus doesn't make an entrance, he is an entrance. He drops out of the back of a club van with his sleeves rolled and zero pretense, all power. Fizz, he says, eyes on the sky, that one. Fizz is already halfway up a lamppost, laughing. He launches from the top with a silk line and stabs a drone emitter with a collapsible baton. The drone spins, spits sparks, and plummets like a pissed-off pigeon. Fizz lands on Asmodeus's palm like a returning knife. 2 more. He chirps, delighted, flipping backward to snag another line. Izuku's phone buzzes. Barbie's text. Media trying to frame you as reckless. I'm redirecting. Say nothing pithy for 5 minutes. He sends back a single heart. She responds with a skull and crossbones. He grins and keeps moving. A white spear dips looser than the others, slanting toward B's kitchen line like an insult. Izuku pushes everything he's got into his calves and bounds in, laces convergent. G into a punch he aims past the spear's tip. He doesn't meet force head-on. He pulls its attention a meter into empty space. The beam overcorrects like a driver with a phone in their hand and slashes clean through a stack of empty stock pots instead of ribs and faces. The pots sing like bells. B whoops. Percussion. The choir regroups with grim resolve. 1 steps forward. Higher rank, smoother edges. Beautiful the way knives are clean. The cord coming out of him is the sound of an operating theater. Cold, necessary, would feel fine if you were numb. He breathes the city into stillness like a blanket. Everything narrows. Izuku's vision tunnels. He tastes winter in a church that never turned the heat on. Someone touches his hand. Luna. She doesn't yank him. She doesn't scream. She squeezes once, hard. Like he's a dog on the edge of bolting. It's heavy enough to reset his lungs. The tag on his wrist scratches. Listen. He hears the city again. B's bad horns, Verosuke's wrong key, Fizz giggling midair. Asmodeus swearing soundlessly when Fizz misses a grip, Barbie roasting a senator in the comments, a kid sobbing into a soup cup and then stopping because the kid is too busy supervising ladles. He breathes with that. Thanks, he says. Don't do it again. Luna snaps, moving to the next disaster, which is love. The Seraph leader drops to street level to finish this. Izuku. Yu meets him halfway up a stair like a duel in an opera staging. They trade 3, 5, 9 moves that don't look like swordplay but are. Izuku reads weight shifts. The Seraph reads pattern sin. The angel doesn't sneer. He's a professional. That's scarier. The Seraph opens his mouth for a close-range hymn. Izuku slaps a hand over it, not gentle, and laughs, startled by his own nerve. No singing, he says, and knees him in the midsection like a soccer kid with bad instincts. The angel's eyes flare indignant. He tries to rise. A rope hisses. Sally Mae's line snaps around the Seraph's ankles and yanks. He faceplants like dignity tripping over a curb. Ugly work, she says, appearing like a whisper. You're lucky I get paid. Invoice B, Izuku says, hauling the Seraph upright by the shoulders and flipping him into a zip tie hold that's actually a broken banner cord. She loves receipts. Only when I can glitter them, B Trill yells, sprinting past with 3 trays and a screaming chef hat. They don't murder the Seraph. They pin him. They stack 2 park benches over him like a kindergarten timeout. It's ridiculous and, apparently, effective. The choir falters without their lead. Verosuke swings the hook harder. Rides the offbeat like a queen with bad intentions, and the Seraphs pull back a street as if the pavement just became moral quicksand. They're not leaving. They're repositioning. A shadow cools the square. Not a cloud. Something bigger. Izuku looks up, already moving. The sky shapes itself into architecture. At first it's just a suspicion with angles. And it resolves into something that says, cathedral, the way an aircraft carrier says, boat. It's not a building. It's an idea about buildings. White, unshadowed, impossible, descending on columns of GHT that root into the city like clean nails. B says, too quiet for her, what the hell is that? Ketheriel's voice arrives like a memo. Empyrean arc. Stand clear while purification completes. Verosuke shades her eyes with 2 fingers and snorts. Eat me. Izuku lets his jaw set then loosen. He doesn't have time for being impressed. He has time for choices. Split, he orders. We run the plan. I take the arc. Luna. Route captains. Verosuke. Sound and morale. B. Medical and kitchens. Sally. Cut emitters and trip lines. Barbie. Cameras and questions. Stella. Negotiate ceasefires where we're too thin. Ozzy. Give me a platform if I need sky. As long as you don't bleed on the upholstery, Asmodeus says, eyes glittering. Fizz, darling. Fizz is already climbing a banner line toward a club roof. Waving at fans like this is his show, because it kind of is. Try not to die without me. He chirps cheerfully. Luna grabs Izuku's arm and yanks him into her space for a heartbeat. She presses forehead to his, wolf quiet. You jump into that thing alone and I will drag you out by your hair. I won't be alone, he says, not promising safety, promising company. Blow the whistle if you need me. I'm going to break it using it, she mutters, but her hand is steady when she taps his tag and lets him go. Stella materializes like a decision. I can get you 10 minutes where pride. Houses don't shoot you in the back for stepping on their roofs, she says, mouth thin. More if you don't humiliate them on live feed. I'm saving that for next week, he says, almost smiling. Thank you. Do not make me regret this, she says, and turns on a heel to bully 3 dukes into the 21st century. Barbie slides in sideways, phone open, eyes bright with violence that wears jokes as a dress. 5 outlets want you on air. I'm giving them B instead. She's prettier and swears better. You keep your mouth for people in front of you. That's unfair to B, Izuku says, already in motion. She's also deadlier. Quote, exactly, Barbie says, and peels off to jam a mic under a panic-monger's nose and make him confess he hasn't seen a map in 9 years. The arc tastes like passwords. Izuku runs toward it, vaults a traffic barrier, and hits a stair run that takes him up into scaffolding nobody ever meant to hold a fight. The air hums with too many neat lines. The arc hangs on beams of, because I said so, that solder reality to opinion. He needs height. He needs a path. He needs a lift. Asmodeus whistles low. A catwalk panel flips. A steel platform rises like a tongue. Make it good, Crown Boy. Make it loud, Ozzy. Always. Izuku sprints, plants, and lets OFA climb. 10%. 12%. He'd prefer not to blow a hamstring right now. Black Whip finds an arc's support a. ND sticks. You shouldn't be able to anchor on an idea. He doesn't ask permission. He swings toward the gleaming atrium that shouldn't have doors because heaven doesn't do invites. The atrium has doors. They open. Ketheriel steps out onto the nothing between arc and air with calm like a board meeting. His armor is unadorned. His face is unkind only in its total lack of interest in being kind. He flicks a glance at Izuku and nods as if they're both on schedule. Stand down. You've demonstrated agility. We will factor that. Factor this, Izuku says, because a teenager with bad impulse control. L lives in his chest and sometimes the kid gets the mic. He doesn't throw a quip. He throws himself. They meet on a service beam that doesn't exist, which is a neat trick both of them commit to as if commitment makes physics polite. Ketheriel's first strike is a palm heel to the sternum that aims to shock the heart into obedient rhythm. Izuku rolls it, catches wrist, answers with a 2-beat combo. That would put a person down but only makes the angel pivot harder. Their feet scrape air, sparks fall. The arc thrums around them like a cathedral purring. Ketheriel doesn't posture. He checks angles and redeems mistakes with speed. Izuku feels the difference between bully and craftsman. He respects it. He hates it. He fights it without grand statements. Why persist? Ketheriel asks mid-exchange, genuinely curious. You could be remembered as the merciful king who saved a year. Being remembered is cheap, Izuku says, snapping a head fake into a slip that bumps Ketheriel out of alignment. Saving people is expensive. Ketheriel's lip twitches like he wishes this was a dinner with better wine. You mistake self-harm for virtue. You mistake compliance for good. They break. Reset. The arc purrs unpleasantly. Below, B's kitchens line the avenues like arteries. Buses with VEROSIKA flip to evac flicker across intersections in a parade nobody asked for but needed. Luna's guard glints in alley mouths. Moving traffic like a tide. Sally's rookies pop emitters with slings and bolts, aiming at machines, not wings. Barbie's stream runs in a corner of Izuku's eye. Mercy that asks you to betray your loves as ransom. We don't pay ransom. Ketheriel glances down and frowns at the optics. You are not unique, he says, last chance calm. We have reset cities before. Cute, Izuku says. Reset this. He doesn't aim for Ketheriel. He aims for the arc's logic. Those clean beams stitching into the ground like someone stapled righteousness to asphalt. He hits at the seam W. ITH a 14% shock that makes his bones complain and the beam flex. It shouldn't. It does. The arc flutters a pixel, offended. Ketheriel moves to stop him. Izuku takes the hit, grunts, uses the momentum to slide under and kick a brace out of true angelic geometry, shrugs, then remembers it's not supposed to move and gets very cranky about that. The arc answers with a defense routine, a forest of TH. In white needles grows out of nothing and jabs down, not hard, annoying, like 1,000 paperwork clips. Izuku can't block them all. He doesn't try. He runs. He jumps. He lets some stab leather and skitter off bone. He throws a whip to the next brace and yanks, ugly, productive. Ketheriel's patience burns off in a whisper you can't hear but you feel in your molars. He grabs Izuku by the collar and hurls him into a light well that isn't there, which ends up being a skylight anyway. Izuku plummets 3 stories of air on idea and lands back on a club roof with a smack that bounces him into a roll he absolutely did not plan. Fizz pops up at the edge, eyes starry. That looked painful. Everything looks painful with you. Izuku wheezes, then springs because Ketheriel is already cutting down on him like a falling conclusion. Izuku meets him mid-drop with a rising knee that dents pride. They bounce away from each other, into air, onto another beam, because the city refuses to host a board room fistfight, and so they do it in a place that reads like a metaphor. Make me pick, Ketheriel says, flat. Which districts to spare? No, Izuku says, and it's a decision, not a quip. He doesn't take the trolley problem. He throws the trolley off its track. He burns. 18% for exactly a heartbeat. Hair rises. Teeth buzz. The world warps at the edges and every tendon complains a formal complaint. He pours power not at Ketheriel, not at the ark's heart, but into the city's air. He sculpts a corridor with pressure. Long, ugly, useful, through which 2 of the worst lances bleed into the canal instead of the school and the market. Windows blow. Ears ring. The skyline wobbles. But the school and the market aren't burning. He staggers. Luna's whistle hits his chest from far away because shish. Blew it, and distance is a social construct with her. He laughs and coughs and stays up. Ketheriel stops. Really stops. The professionalism cracks just enough to show something like startled human under the perfect skin. HNH. Yeah, Izuku says, drunk on oxygen. We do stunts at my school. They go again, but the rhythm changed. Ketheriel doesn't aim to neutralize a symptom anymore. He's testing a thesis. He zips a palm past Izuku's ear and says, consent, like he's tasting the word. Izuku answers with a hook that bounces off breastplate and says, choice, like it's obvious. They talk in hits. Stupid, elegant, primal, high-minded. Why refuse a year? Ketheriel asks while flipping Izuku over a beam. Because I don't sell people, I love to buy time, Izuku answers, catching the beam with one hand and turning the throw into a swing that clocks Ketheriel in the teeth of his good argument. You mistake love for governance. You mistake governance for gravity. It can change. In the street below, B's volunteers pass water from hand to hand, humming Verosuka's hook-off key and shameless. A tiny kid with glitter hair runs a line of stickers across a shelter door. Yes. 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 B laughs and cries at the same time and hands her another sheet. Verosuka finishes a verse on a roof, then jumps a foot to the next while 3 fans catch her ankles and whoop. She doesn't scold. She hands them walkie-talkies. You're my runners now. They grow an inch in 2 seconds. Sally snaps a leftover arc needle off a wall and uses it to pry open an emitter casing. I can weaponize anything, she tells the camera she pretends not to see. Don't be stupid. Be petty. Barbie holds a press mic under a cherub's chin and translates Angel for the crowd with swear words and bigger fonts. He says they're helping. I say, okay. Then stop slicing kids' swing sets. Decision pending. Views spike in 4 rings. Stella walks straight into a Godia patrol a block over, holds up a map with corridors color-coded, and says, if you fire on evac routes, your titles will be worth less than the paper they're written on by morning. Choose wisely. They choose. For now. Izuku catches Ketheriel's arm on a downswing, flips, lands, and stays between arc and square like he bought the spot. His legs tremble with the kind of fatigue that doesn't care about theatrics. He stays anyway. The arc adjusts into overkill. White geometry flows, beaming columns cluster, a sound like a choir tuning with malice scales up. If it finishes, it'll overwrite the city in neatness. If it finishes, Ketheriel wins the argument by erasing the other side mid-sentence. Back off. Luna barks in his ear. You can't. I know, he says, softer than the calm likes. I'm not trying to beat it. I'm stalling. For what? B demands, juggling 3 crises in a dance move. For you, he says, and leaps one more time. He doesn't hit the arc. He hits the clock. He throws himself into the rhythm of its glow and punches on the off-beats. Nudging cycles out of sync, messing with metronomes Verosuka already cluttered with filthy hooks. He's not winning. He's keeping the arc a little bit late to its own disaster. Ketheriel watches him do something that isn't heroic or cinematic, it's inconvenient. For the first time, the Archon looks tired. Not resigned. Just tired. Pointless, Ketheriel says. That's what change feels like at first, Izuku pants. Pointless. Annoying. Loud. Then people copy it. As if cued, 3 separate rooftops light with little OFA-less shockwaves. Not real quirks. Trash can lids and rope slings and big hearts. People saw Izuku shove air and figured out how to bully beams with physics and anger. They don't stop lances. They make them miss by inches. Inches are meals. Ketheriel tracks the copies. His jaw moves like he's grinding something between his molars that isn't a tooth. He drops to a lower beam, holds out a hand, not peace. Pause. Withdraw, he says, voice thin. I will recommend a reduction in cycles, given your efficiency. Now you bargain, Izuku says, weirdly fond and absolutely not giving grace. New deal. You stop the arc. We talk in a room where nobody's dying. Ketheriel's eyes flick to the square. B's kitchen line is still moving. A grandma swings her rolling pin at a panic idiot and resets his brain. Verosuka lifts a sobbing K. It and sings his stupid name into his hair until the kid forgets to cry. Luna shoulders a slab of fallen plaster off a pinned sinner and growls, breathe, like a spell. Sally flips a switch and the emitter she rigged coughs and dies. Asmodeus yanks Fizz out of a bad line with one arm, kisses his forehead, and throws him back into the sky because love is a trampoline around here. Ketheriel looks up at the arc. He looks down at Izuku. He watches a beam he aimed at a hospital hit empty air because some idiot with a whistle taught a city to move like water for 20 minutes. King, he says, not kindly. Accurately. Izuku shakes his head. Verb. The Archon's fingers curl. He snaps them once. The arc's blow changes key. The columns withdraw like embarrassed pencils. The choir's wrong chord fades. The white forest ungrows. The arc hangs for a long, ugly second like bureaucracy deciding to be less monstrous. Then it starts to rise. Don't make me regret this, Ketheriel says, and it's not a threat. It's a confession that regret exists in him at all. Meet me, Izuku says, and gives the Archon a direct where and when with coordinates that translate to a dull city government roofa. Sundown because nothing romantic should be expected to be pretty. Ketheriel nods, barely, as if he's signing for a package he didn't order. He turns. The arc tucks itself up like origami. One last spear drops, late, petty. It would drive through a shelter awning where B's soup line is singing out of tune. Izuku doesn't have anything left that won't cost muscle tomorrow. He throws anyway and sees, in that tiny sliver before impact, a hand outstretched, not his, Ketheriel's. The spear shears to powder in midair and drifts down like coarse snow. B bursts out laughing because the alternative is screaming. She holds a cup up to the falling brightness like she's catching fireflies. Thanks for the assist, Godcop. Luna snorts so hard she chokes. Verosuka howls. People clap, because hell applauds good timing even if it hates the source. The arc disappears into a clean hole in reality that closes behind it like nothing happened. But things happened. A lot. Izuku's legs give him the invoice. He stumbles. The world tilts. Luna is suddenly under his left shoulder, B under his right, Verosuka in front of him with a water bottle he probably can't drink without drowning. Sally stands behind him, hands in pockets, pretending she's not ready to catch his head if he tips. You did stupid, Luna says. I did useful, he says. Stupid and useful, B says. We brand it. We sell stickers. 2 words. Verosuka says, breathless and delighted. Victory concert. Later, he says, laughing because laughing is better than weeping and he's fresh out of tears he'd let anyone see. We have to count heads. They count. They count the way accountants do. Cold, precise, generous with good numbers, honest with bad. There are losses. There are fewer than anyone expected. B's kitchens don't run out. Asmodeus's clubs hold. Verosuka's buses shuttle till engines complain. Sally's lines find and snip 3 final emitters like hangnails. Barbie's stream hits numbers that make labels cry. Stella appears with a clipboard that has blood on it. Not hers. She doesn't explain. Servants accounted for, she says in a tone that will make certain Godia wake up with cold sweats for a month. Nobles signed their upgrades. They will claim inspiration. I will let them until the work's paid for. Thank you, Izuku says. She looks at him long enough to be uncomfortable, then quick enough to not be embarrassing. Do not ask me why, she says, and sweeps away before her mouth can betray that it's getting easier. As the noise drops to human, the city reveals weird, small things. A teenager with a cracked skateboard gives a little kid a piggyback. A demon in a three-piece suit hands out cough drops. An angel feather lies in a gutter and nobody touches it because nobody wants that kind of souvenir. On a roofline, Ketheriel stands alone for a breath of private air and then is gone, the need gone, like a file closed. Izuku leans on the rail of a borrowed fire escape, and lets the wind cool a face he forgot was hot. Luna leans beside him, shoulder to shoulder, like you do when you don't want to be the one to start the hug. He bumps her, she bumps back, the whistle, and the tag tap each other and make a dumb little clink. B climbs the stairs carrying 2 steaming cups and a throbbing ankle she refuses to admit to. She hands Izuku a drink with a visible flinch when her fingers brush his knuckles. He pretends he didn't notice. Veronica arrives, hair a disaster. She'll turn into a music video, licking a cut on her lower lip like she's tasting victory. Sally sits on the steps 3 down, cleaning a blade that used to be an arc needle with a square of someone's monogrammed handkerchief. We live, she says, rough. It's a statement and a challenge. We live, Izuku echoes. He looks out at the city. It's not clean. It's beautiful in a way that scares architects. Patched, loud, held together with tape and stubbornness and soup. It didn't wait for him. It met him halfway. B lifts her cup. By consent, she says, and nobody tells her that's cringe. They clink paper and plastic and chipped mugs stolen from clubs. Luna blows the whistle once, quietly, just to hear it sing in the same air as the city that didn't die. Far off, the government roof that will matter later throws a rectangle of shadow. He files under, tomorrow. He doesn't stare. He doesn't make speeches. He eats a stale donut B forces into his hand and lets his shoulders finally drop by an inch. For the first time all night, the sky looks like sky. Chapter 4 end. Chapter 5. The Crown decides. Sundown throws a bruise across the government roof. Izuku steps over the low ledge and doesn't look at the skyline. He looks at the man already waiting. Ketheriel stands like a receipt, tidy, undeniable. No choir, no glow. The Concordat convened, he says, voice even. They chose completion. The arc returns at moonrise. You cannot stop it, can't or won't? Izuku asks. Keth. Ariel studies him like a surgeon eyeing a risky cut. Must. Then I'll break the instrument. Not heaven. I don't have time for fantasies. I've got a city. Wind tugs at loose police tape. Somewhere below, a kid laughs at a dumb B poster. Ketheriel hears it too. A line moves at the corner of his mouth and vanishes. Your wives, he says, like a diagnosis. The vows create political stability. They create obligation. Izuku says. Mine. Ketheriel's gaze tips to the horizon. White geometry peels reality open over the river, coalescing into the Empyrean arc like a cathedral refusing to be metaphor. Columns of neat light nail down city blocks. The air cools 5 degrees without permission. Izuku doesn't reach for him. He steps off the roof. Meet me at the heart, he throws over his shoulder, and dives. The ark's outer skin looks like bone china and sounds like no sound at all. There are doors now because the city watched him mock the last set into existence and started expecting them. They open. Positions, he says into comms, boots kissing a ledge that didn't want to be stood on until he decided to stand on it. Logistics nodes, B answers, voice whipped thin and fierce. If this thing eats power like my raves, I'm pulling its snacks. Noise, Veronica purrs. I'm bringing the worst song you've ever loved. Anchors, Sally Mae says, knives already. Out because subtle is for people who get paid less. Failsafes, Barbie says, I speak fluent stupid architecture. Parley, Stella murmurs, I will make them stall themselves. Whistle, Luna growls, I keep you breathing. They move. Inside, the arc is an office that fired all the art. Halls paint themselves ahead of you into paths that assume you'll obey. Izuku doesn't. He walks to the wall and keeps going until the wall decides it's a corridor because it is easier to be wrong than to get in his way. B hits supply node with 6 volunteers in glitter aprons. She kicks a shimmering pedestal and yells, "I need a pallet jack and 5 sinners with trauma bonding experience." Power conduits look like prayer lines. She unclips them like bad extensions and reroutes juice to a panel. Labeled by Barbie's spray paint, not yours. The node's glow dims. The Ark gets hungry. Verosuka hijacks a choir pit made of algorithm and purges it with a hook she wrote on a napkin while tripping a fire alarm. Her voice ragdolls the metronomes. The Ark tries to autocorrect. She smothers its perfect beat with a dirty laugh and whispers, "Shish. Mommy's singing." Sally ghosts through a restrict ed archway that collapses to polite foam when she flicks a stolen angel key against it. A guardian unfolds, a polygon with too many rules. She slides under its arm, tickles a seam with a lockpick, and pulls a bright spine out like a sword swiped from a magician. The thing slumps, not dead, on break. Barbie finds a white terminal that expects credentials nobody alive has and lies to it in a tone she reserves for college administrators. Override reason. Civic emergency. Owner. Everybody. The Ark tries to remand her to a compliance screen. She clicks print and the panel pukes up a paper trail. Receipts, she says, satisfied. Taping them to the wall. Stella Corner checks down an aisle of humming light and steps into a sanctum with 3 serif functionaries on call. She curtsies a millimeter and says in Godia Court polite, "I appreciate your efficiency. Please spend the next 6 minutes enumerating it." They do, because they respect rank and she wears it like a weapon. By the time they notice, Sally has already knifed the anchor behind their backs and Barbie has turned their failsafe into an "Are you sure?" box that reads, "No." Izuku rides a spine toward the core, breath hot, legs cool. Luna is a shadow 2 steps back and exactly where his blind spot would be if he allowed blind spots. Twice she yanks him out of a tidy beam's path by his collar. Once she shoves him into a wall that wasn't a door until it had to be. He doesn't waste thank yous. He pays them by not making her do it a 3rd time. The heart isn't a heart. It's a room that believes in leaving no fingerprints. A pearl of light floats in the center like a thought heaven refuses to share. Around it, railings without scuffs, steps without dust, a platform that pretends not to exist if you blink. Ketheriel is already there. He did not arrive. He belongs and hates that fact. "Stand down," he says out of habit, then hears his own voice and edits. "Stand ready." Izuku stops at the edge of the platform and sets his palms on the invisible rail that isn't but is. "This is where you kill me if you're going to." "I will not," Ketheriel says, like he just threw away a tool and doesn't know how to feel barehanded. The pearl hums, impatient. The Ark is a beast with its mouth open and no handler left. If the core completes, the city becomes geometry with feelings filed off. "Plan," Luna asks. "Plane." Izuku points. "Break its brain." He unhooks the plain knife Sally gave him, lays it on the rail, and breathes. "Don't punch it," Barbie says, appearing at the top of the stairs with papers trailing behind her like an annoyed comet. Punching breaks the fail open into fail shut. "You want fail stupid. Then we confuse it," Verosuka says from the doorway, hair full of static, eyes full of trouble. "Sing into the gears. Make it fall in love with the wrong song." B strides in sweaty and radiant, apron streaked with somebody's blood and somebody else's glitter. "I can starve 3 subnodes for 60 seconds. After that, it drinks people." 60 is enough, Izuku says. "Not if you miss," Stella says, and steps to the rail with a poise that makes the Ark decide the rail existed all along. "Don't miss." The floor thrums a question none of them were asked. Izuku answers it by jumping. He smacks into a geometry that hates him and keeps going like a bad thought in a quiet room. The core throws logic nets. He slices them with the flat of Sally's knife. They reform. He shoulder checks a plane of light and makes it doubt itself for 1 beat too long. Luna times the whistle. 1 breath before he needs it, she blows. He lands where the sound is and not where gravity thinks. He laughs because the sound is stupid and important and his bones listen better than his brain sometimes. "Now," B says, hands on 2 panels that fight her. She yanks their diet. The core hiccups. Bar lights dim across the Ark and the city twitches as if a headache backed off 1 inch. "Now," Verosuka sings, voice a smear of velvet and threat. Her hook slides into the hum. "Don't you dare get perfect," and for a breath the core droops because it wants to sing back. Now, Barbie chants, fingers flying, over a terminal that keeps turning back into a mirror. She slaps a sticker over it that reads "You're not special." The screen pouts and becomes useful again. Now, Stella says, low, speaking in the old language angels pretend not to hear. Yield to necessity. The core flinches like it remembers shame. Izuku hits it with a punch not aimed to destroy, the kind that knocks the breath out of a bully without breaking his ribs. The pearl pops like a bubble deciding to be steam. Ketheriel moves. He doesn't go for Izuku. He goes for the logic spindle behind the pearl, the thing that fed it rules until rules turned into knives. He manifests a spear that looks like a signature and slams it through the shaft. The arc screams the way a law screams when someone proves it wrong. Get out, Ketheriel says, voice suddenly not a memo. Now, quote, the arc doesn't explode. It fails ugly. Floors forget themselves. Rails remember they were air. Doors double. The neatness peels, revealing mess and, under mess, choice. The platform drops an inch. Verosuke yelps, laughs and swings on Luna's offered arm like a trapeze. B grabs Barbie's waistband and yanks her through a wall that wasn't a wall until B bullied it. Strobes rip across the core room like a tantrum. Sally knifes a falling brace and rides it down like a pissed-off surfboard. Izuku staggers. The OFA backlash arrives with an invoice stamped due now. His knees say bad words. His lungs say more. The floor tilts. Ketheriel is still at the spindle, braced. The spear sinks deeper, scribing a crack that runs through rules. He looks over his shoulder once, meets Izuku's eyes, and understands a thing he hates understanding. I require time, he says. I'll buy it, Izuku says. He steps between Angel and everything mad and holds the line while the room tries to become hallways in 4 directions at once. He blocks an angry logic pulse with a palm heel and a sound that means, no. He head fakes a geometric lash into hitting itself. He burns 10% to sculpt a bubble the size of a van around the two of them and holds that shape with will and pain. Luna dives back into the bubble like a wolf through brush and plants feet beside him. Don't be a hero alone, she snarls, dragging his left hand higher with both of hers. He lifts. The bubble firms. 2 more seconds, Ketheriel says, which is actually 3 because angels lie to themselves too. B shoves a party cart into the bubble and jumps in. Hydrate, she orders, slamming a bottle into Izuku's chest while kicking a falling pain aside with a heel that will hate her tomorrow. Verosuke leans in and sings a line that feels like adrenaline and comfort. Sally knocks a logic blade off course with the flat of her knife and swears like somebody's aunt. Barbie adjusts THE bubbles, branding, by scrawling public safety on it with a marker, and the ARC's own damage avoidance subroutines give them a pity pass because bureaucracy is stupid. Done, Ketheriel says. He rips the spear sideways. The spindle shears. The arc seizes. Somewhere far above, a choir chokes on a note and chooses silence over embarrassment. The core goes dark. The room drops them. Izuku grabs Luna with one hand and Ketheriel with the other and falls. B falls with grip on Barbie's jacket. Verosuke falls with a laugh that sounds like a sob got told a joke. Sally falls with her feet NTED down because she intends to win even at gravity. Stella falls like a woman who has fallen farther and hated it more. The arc doesn't catch them. The city does. They punch through a veil and hit a club roof already piled with cushions because Asmodeus had a feeling about drama and prepared for it like a good host. Fizz bounds onto the heap with a hooray that makes 3 exhausted sinners grin involuntarily. B wheezes a laugh, topples onto Izuku's chest, and swats his cheek. Don't ever do paperwork like that again. Ketheriel rolls to his knees, breath thin, wings half furled like he forgot to hide them. He stares up at the arc. The columns retract. The neat hole folds. The weapon decides to be somewhere else. He looks down at Izuku. For the first time, he bows his head a fraction. You had me. Izuku snorts, smiles, and reaches to haul him upright. No, I trusted you. Ketheriel looks at the hand like it's a test, then takes it. He does not pull. Izuku does, and it's okay. Leave, Stella says to the angel with the venom reserved for fights she won. Before your peers make you do something you regret. Regret is not policy, he says, but he steps back. He turns his face toward the dark where heaven hides and raises his voice just enough for the mics to have it. Empyrean arc. Audit terminated. The sky stays the kind of quiet that makes you hear your pulse. Ketheriel looks at the circle they make without meaning to. Guard, singer, queen, assassin, critic, noble, idiot with a verb, and then away. We will speak again, he says to Izuku. It sounds less like a threat now and more like a habit he's not ready to break. He leaves by doing nothing. The air stops pretending he was here. B lands beside Izuku on the roof's low wall, legs swinging over the drop. Hair a crown of stupid sparkles and real sweat. Okay, she says, voice very plain. I need vows before I fall over. They don't dress up. They don't go somewhere pretty. They use a roof that smells like fries and victory. B holds out both hands, palms sticky with sugar and blood. I promise to feed your city like it's mine, she says. And when I screw up, I'll say it out loud into a microphone. Izuku slides his fingers into hers. I promise to carry tables, not just give orders. And if I start loving applause more than people, you shut the music off. B's laugh breaks witnessed. She bumps his forehead with hers, quick. Now someone bring me cake or I will eat a light fixture. Sally slaps two knives on the parapet, blades naked between them like honesty. I don't do pretty, she says. I do lines. Here's mine. If I doubt you, I don't stab you. I put the knife down and we talk. If you lie, I pick it back up and we stop being a we. Izuku lays a palm over the steel. I promise to give you reasons to keep the knife on the table. She nods once. Good. Barbie steps in, hands in her jacket pockets like she's not nervous. She is. No crown gifts, she says. No title. I want a slot on your calendar. Every week, 1 hour, no guards, open questions in public, and I get the mic first and last. Izuku grins. I thought you were going to make it hard. I am, she says. Also, if you ever try to make me smile for photo ops when I don't want to, I'm leaking your search history. I clear my history, he says. She smirks. You forget cloud backups. He sticks out his pinky. She stares, sighs, hooks hers. Witnessed, she says, annoyingly fond. A hush ripples from the stairwell. Stella appears with a treaty scroll because of course she does, it's Al. Ready signed by 3 great houses who are pretending they understood this morning that they would be signing this tonight. She presents it to Izuku like a blade sheath first. In public, she says. Mutual, limited, reviewable by Barbie. Void if either party harms servants or civilians to preserve face. You added the last clause, Barbie says, pleased. I am evolving, Stella says without rolling her eyes. Izuku takes the treaty and doesn't hug her, because that would be a lie to both of them. Thank you. She leans closer, just enough for privacy in a room full of ears. I do not know what I feel, she admits. I know I prefer this world to the other one. Then we build this one, he says. Time is allowed. Veronica hijacks the moment because that's her job. I'm turning this roof into a stage for 5 minutes. She declares, pulling a mic from nowhere. Not for brand, for witness. She faces the drones that have come to watch and doesn't flirt with them. I promise to be embarrassing. I promise to sing things I'm afraid of. I promise to never again pay people with hope instead of money. She shoves the mic at Izuku. Your line. I promise to get booed, he says. I promise to keep listening when it happens. She kisses him like they're both exhausted and that's good news. Luna waits until the noise swells. She steps into his space, close enough for nobody to film it clean. The whistle sits between them. She taps it, then his chest tag. Last one, she mutters. I promise to call you before I break your door down. Most times. He smiles like a moron. I promise to come before you have to. Quote. She headbutts his shoulder, gentle. Pack. Wordless. Enough. Below them, streets stack with people who didn't die and refuse to sleep. B's kitchens still burn. Asmodeus has every exit lit green. Veronica's buses idle like big happy dogs. Godia servants lean on one another and watch stars that look almost like real stars. The arc is gone. Someone starts chanting. Not a cheer. Something with syllables that feel like work. Crown. By consent. It's not coordinated. It doesn't need to be. The sound rolls across roofs and over alleys and up stairwell. LS and through B's kitchens like a wave learning its water. The chant isn't about him. It's about the verb he asked them to try on like a jacket and scuff up. Izuku feels heat at his sternum. Not a brand, a rhythm. A sigil sketches itself into being over his heart and then under his skin, pulsing in time with footsteps and ladles and laughter. It doesn't look like a halo. It looks like a heart. Beat drew itself a crest and asked every nearby soul to sign. They do. Lucifer doesn't appear. No trumpet plays a coda. There's just a city looking at a balcony with no throne and a man who refuses to stop moving chairs. He walks to the rail with his wives beside him. Luna quiet and dangerous, Verosuke honest and extra, B sticky and saintly, Sally sharp and loyal, Barbie cruel and kind, Stella steady and complicated. He doesn't put his hands up. He puts them on the rail and looks like he intends to use it later to lean while rewiring lights. I'm not promising peace, he says, voice carried by mics and hope. I promise to keep choosing you. Out loud, in public, when it's expensive, and I want you to keep choosing each other the same way. If I stop listening, you blow the whistle. He taps his tag. If someone tells you mercy comes from above, remember who caught you tonight. It was you. The roar is a thing with teeth and a grin. It climbs the buildings and eats the neat. It leaves the useful. He lets it go on long enough to be true. Then he turns, picks up a folding table, and starts hauling it down into the courtyard where B and Sally are building a line for tomorrow's breakfast. Verosuke yanks a cable out of somebody's butt pocket and makes it a stage extension. Luna smacks a guard on the shoulder and sends him to bed against his will. Barbie opens her notes and starts drafting tomorrow's press conference with a title that will make 5 houses choke. Stella stands at the edge of the roof, inhales, and doesn't flinch at the wind. Ketheriel watches from a distance you can't measure and hates the way his shoulders loosen. He will write reports. He will defend a choice he was not ordered to make. He will return. But not tonight. Tonight, the city throws a potluck under a ruined sky and calls it policy. Izuku lugs a table into the light and grins at whoever he hasn't met yet. Shift change, he says. Make Dawn less stupid. Finally, B groans, pressing a cupcake into his free hand. Eat crown cake. He bites it. It's terrible. He laughs with a mouth full of sugar and ash, and it tastes like work. Chapter 5 End.